My friendship with Pei Xiao and Zhu Lin has spanned a full 70 years, they were renowned chemists, and I was the chemist's wife, their confidant. I dedicated my life, quietly and steadfastly, to supporting their work. They passed away on the same day. Their will stipulated that all property be left to the other, and that they be buried together in the future. In our next life, I want to make it up to Zhu Lin properly. In our next life, could you please not fight me for Pei Xiao, in the blink of an eye? I was reborn at 18, I watched their faces flush as their eyes met. With a smile, I erased the answer sheet for the class placement exam. This time, I won't be a part of your romance, nor will I be your accessory. I have a name, I have my own life. 2, 1, I just walked out of the exam hall. I walked right into my boyfriend Pei Xiao and my best friend Zhu Lin kissing in the hallway. Are you insane? What if Meng Ling finds out? What else can I do? I'm in love with you, having been reborn once. I have nothing left to fear. A corner of the boy's white shirt was lifted by the wind, the girl's long hair swayed gently in the breeze. 2 top students, 2 geniuses, a match made in heaven. I stood there in the distance for a long time. I waited until they had calmly parted ways before walking over to get my bag. Zhu Lin greeted me as if nothing was amiss. Ling, why did you hand in your papers so late? Didn't I secretly signal the answers to you? Pei Xiao deliberately averted his gaze. His tone cool. Hurry up and pack your things, we're waiting for you. In the setting sun, our 3 shadows fell far apart. Cheating on a test is wrong. I want to rely on myself, I said, lifting my face. I recalculated every single problem. I've made plans with a friend, so I won't be walking home with you. Pei Xiao and Zhu Lin were both stunned. I shouldered my backpack and ran off in the opposite direction. Since we've both been given a second chance, let's each walk our own path and help each other succeed. 2. During a routine elementary school physical, 3 cases of the rare Rh-negative blood type were identified in the entire student body. Those 3 were me, Pei Xiao, and Zhu Lin. This remarkable coincidence brought us together as friends. We have walked side by side through 70 years of life. My first pair of properly fitting sneakers were a gift from Zhu Lin. The first love letter I ever received was written by Pei Xiao. They came from well-off families, were clever and good-looking. Even as they soared ahead, they never left me behind. They took me with them to university, and then into the research institute where we worked together. This continued right up until their passing. My final resting place is nestled right between theirs. A small space was made for me, right beside the countless flowers sent by generations of scholars. The name Meng Ling on the tombstone had long since faded, becoming illegible, yet the bold characters declaring wife of chemist Pei Xiao, dear friend of chemist Zhu Lin remained starkly vivid and clear, and so, passers-by would have a sudden moment of understanding. So, there was a person like me. After all, in truth, I've lived a life free from want, blessed with both comfort and genius companionship. I really shouldn't have any regrets, yet, looking back from the end of my life's journey, so many grievances are ones I've quietly swallowed down. 3. I was an average student academically, but I had a real talent for painting. I even received recognition from the president of the Central Academy of Fine Arts. My family couldn't afford to send me for intensive training, so I secretly taught myself and signed up for the art college entrance exam. But on the day of the exam, Pei Xiao and Zhu Lin were in a car accident. I had to donate blood for them, and I missed the exam. In the hospital room, Zhu Lin tearfully apologized to me. I'm so sorry. It's all our fault for being careless. But wait, someone like you, an ordinary person, actually wants to take the art school entrance exams. Pursuing an art career costs a fortune. Can your family even afford it? Zhu Lin was right. My family couldn't even afford the cost of retaking the college entrance exams, so studying art was naturally not a good option. There was regret and a sense of injustice in my heart. But saving the lives of 2 dear friends made it all worthwhile. To repay me, Pei Xiao and Zhu Lin spent our entire senior year of high school tutoring me relentlessly. In the end, all 3 of us ended up staying in the capital. They got into top universities through early admission, while I went to a second-tier college for a management degree. My school was very, very close to the prestigious universities they were admitted to. With my closest friends by my side, life was simple and happy. In my senior year, the dean of Kaffa never gave up on me and invited me to intern on his project. The workplace was inside the Forbidden City. I was overjoyed and told Pei Xiao and Zhu Lin, only to learn that they had been specially hired by the research institute and were about to settle down in the distant city of H. Zhu Lin held my hand, reluctant to let go. Xiaoling, I'm so genuinely happy for you, you've finally achieved your dream, but won't it be tough for you and Pei Xiao? Being in a long-distance relationship from now on, is that Dean a fraud? He's a man of such high status, why on earth would he go out of his way to invite someone like you? Pei Xiao sat in the corner without saying a word, a flicker of discontent shone in his cold, clear eyes. We tacitly agreed to part ways for a while, each to plan our own lives. The news of my pregnancy arrived before the breakup ever did, for I read online that a fetus releases hormones to secure its growth in the womb, which can cloud the mother's thinking. Perhaps I was thinking of my own single mother, and how she raised me. Perhaps it was the thought that it, too, was a living being. In the end, I couldn't bring myself to go through with the surgery. I turned down the internship, got married to Pei Xiao, and we settled down together in H City. As Pei Xiao and Zhu Lin's careers flourished, they also managed to secure a family-related position for me. The pay isn't much, but the workload is light. It's a comfortable and stable life. The 2 apartments assigned by our work unit were right next to each other, so the 3 of us remained constant companions. We'd barbecue in the summer and have hot pot in the winter, living a warm and happy life. A few years later, a position for deputy head of publicity opened up at the Research Institute. Over the years, my performance has been outstanding. I've won several national awards on behalf of our institute. And the science illustration I created was even selected as a promotional template. I'm in line for a promotion. However, Pei Xiao and Zhu Lin were also promoted and are about to head to Qinghai to work on a key research project. Zhu Lin bought champagne for us all to celebrate. Congratulations to us for shining in our respective fields. But after your promotion, Xiaoling, you'll be so busy, with weekly meetings at the provincial level, you won't have much time to look after the family, right? Pei Xiao, holding our daughter who was secretly wiping away tears, reminded me in a low voice, Meng Ling, one of us needs to take care of Xiao Guai. Our daughter is about to start elementary school. The son Zhu Lin had out of wedlock has just been weaned. All household matters need to be managed, and the elderly require care. After careful consideration, in the end, I was the one who gave in first and let go of the promotion. From then on, I traded my paintbrush for a spatula, dedicating myself to the family in a whirl of busyness. Decades passed in the blink of an eye, the children grew up successful, and the family was harmonious. I settled into a happy life that most people would envy, but on all those sleepless nights, what was I thinking about? I was thinking about the day my mother died. When I desperately called my direct supervisor, Zhu Lin, begging for special permission to leave the province, I called from morning till night, pleading with so many people, and only after my mother had passed did I receive a single message of explanation from Pei Xiao. Zhu Lin is chairing a high-level review meeting for a project involving hundreds of people today. Her phone must be on silent and turned off. Your trivial matter can wait for another day. On the day my daughter was to be married, I picked up my paintbrush again to prepare a gift for her, yet, it wasn't even as good as a casual sketch by a first-year art student. In the end, I never displayed it or gave it to her. Disposing of the paintings took a while. By the time I returned to the reception hall, Zhu Lin had already taken my place. Walking our daughter down the aisle, I was thinking back to the day Pei Xiao received the Lifetime Achievement Award. When the children and my younger students gathered around to help me adjust my boutonniere, when Pei Xiao thanks me later, the camera will pan to this old woman. I'm going to be on TV. But, Pei Xiao rambled on, but never once mentioned my name. It was all Zhu Lin. He is grateful for Zhu Lin, the partner, confidant, and soulmate of his life, from their youth to their old age. Every scene along the journey was witnessed with Zhu Lin by his side. They once gazed at the stars together on the boundless Gobi Desert, standing shoulder to shoulder at the pinnacle of the chemical sciences. Yet all my life's work, the daily grind, the mundane chores, could just as easily be done by a housekeeper. Nothing worth thanking me for. 5. I was the one who handled the funeral arrangements for Pei Xiao and Zhu Lin. They happened to pass away on the very same day. The wills they left behind coincidentally contained the exact same sentence: to leave their estate to the other, and to be buried together in the future. Meng Ling, I gave you all the love I had in this lifetime. In the next, I want to make it up to her properly. Meng Ling, I gave you all my love in this life. In the next, please don't fight me for him. Okay, then what am I? Am I just a spectator to your wonderful lives? It suddenly came back to me. That night decades ago when Pei Xiao confessed his feelings to me, I went to find them to ring in the new year together. A cup of bubble tea in hand, pushing the door open, I saw the living room decorated with fresh flowers and a cake. The candlelight flickered in Pei Xiao's eyes, which were fixed unwaveringly on Zhu Lin. The words just slipped out. "Are you two confessing your feelings?" Zhu Lin's face instantly flushed red, and she pushed me towards Pei Xiao. "No way, I could never like this annoying little brother. We're rivals. Just trying to outstudy each other to be the top of the class." As the clock struck midnight, a kaleidoscope of fireworks burst into life outside the window. Pei Xiao took one last look at Zhu Lin, then pulled a confession letter from his pocket and handed it to me. "Yeah, well, I'm not into you either, so don't flatter yourself. It's Meng Ling I like." The prince and princess were a classic bickering couple, always saying the opposite of what they truly meant. And the passerby foolishly took it at face value. He muddled through his entire life in a daze. Mistaking vinegar for ink, he spent half his life writing only of bitterness. If only he could have a second chance. "Let's start over. I'm going to stay far away from all of you. I'm going to reclaim my brilliant life." 6. I was reborn in the final semester of my senior year of high school. Just as the school was about to split into an elite science class and a regular class, without Zhu Lin's help for the placement exam, my scores only qualified me for the regular class. I saw it as a perfect chance for a clean break. I left the 3-person group chat, deleted my friends, and left them with just one message: "I want to focus on my studies and won't be using my phone anymore." I never expected Pei Xiao to seek me out on the very first day of school, dressed in a clean blue and white school uniform. He stood tall and straight, with handsome, refined features that drew frequent glances from the girls, even in his old age and his previous life. Pei Xiao never lacked for admirers. Looking at that face again now, I don't feel the slightest bit of attraction anymore. "Meng Ling, I'm going to ask the teacher for a chance to get back into the advanced science class. You should prepare well." I was just about to speak when Zhu Lin suddenly ran over, linking arms with both of us. "What are you two whispering about without me? Forget your best friends the moment you start dating. Is that it?" "Xiaoling, honestly. I already gave you the answers and you still didn't copy them. How could you possibly get into the advanced science class on your own merit?" Pei Xiao is such a catch. If you don't keep a close eye on him and tie him down, what if some other girl snatches him away in the next 6 months? I savored the hidden meaning in every word, then suddenly lowered my gaze and smiled. I turned around and pushed Zhu Lin's arm away. "I think I should break up with Pei Xiao first. We won't be in the same class anymore, and we don't even live near each other. It just makes dating too complicated. The college entrance exam is only a few months away. I really need to focus on my studies." Pei Xiao froze for a moment, his hand at his side slowly clenching into a fist. The moment I turned to leave, he suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Meng Ling, don't you dare regret this." 7. What do I have to regret? I was so fond of you back then, yet we never took a single photo together in our youth. Nor did we ever take a trip, just the two of us. In all our decades of marriage, I left no trace in your brilliant life. It's time to end this. I said we're breaking up. Do you not understand? I looked up at Pei Xiao with a cold gaze. While he was distracted, she shoved Zhu Lin into his arms with force, then turned and walked away. Avoiding someone is simple. Don't make eye contact. Don't reach out, and steer clear of every path he takes. I studied with single-minded focus for 4 months. Then, the college entrance exam was over. My results came in. They were even worse than in my past life. It's been so long since I left high school behind, even picking up a paintbrush can't recapture that old feeling. Yet, I'm not sad about it. If you, like me, could go back to being 18 again, with all that time and vibrant life ahead of you, what does one failure even matter? I've drawn up a plan to retake the year. I knew money was tight at home, so I figured I could take out an online loan and get a part-time job to avoid being a financial burden. The day I finally mustered the courage to talk to Mom about it, to my surprise, she agreed right away. Even though she's usually so strict, every great achievement begins as a dream. If you love it, go for it. Don't worry about the money. I hope my daughter lives a life of courage, grace, freedom, and brilliance. Always remember this, the light that is self-sufficient can never be wrong. I had a deep misunderstanding of my mother when I was young. If she hadn't insisted on the divorce, I wouldn't have been separated from my father, and she wouldn't have had to work from dawn till dusk to support our family. Life was so hard. What's wrong with a stable and happy life? Why couldn't she just let some things slide? In my twilight years, looking back on these events, only then did I realize how much braver she was than I. To support my retaking the exams and intensive training, Mom decided to sell the house and move closer to the school. We have a little breakfast shop, and we're moving it over there with us. On the last day of business at the old shop, Pei Xiao, whom I hadn't seen in ages, showed up at the door and bought all the remaining steamed buns and soy milk. He silently scanned the code to pay, then placed the flowers and gift in front of me. For you. Happy birthday. I've never properly celebrated your birthday before. Here, take it. The scent that washed over me made me dizzy for a moment. Today is my 18th birthday. My birthday is just one day before Julien's. In our past life, Pei Xiao found it a hassle, so he would always buy 2 cakes and 2 gifts on Julien's birthday to celebrate for both of us together. Since they're so close together anyway, it didn't matter if I blew out my candles a day late. These small grievances became countless over the long years that followed. I stopped caring a long time ago. Wow, why are you buying a gift today? My birthday is tomorrow. You got the date wrong. You silly little brother, you deserve a smack. Julien walked over from the street, interrupting my train of thought. She pouted and clenched her little fists, ready to teach Pei Xiao a lesson. Pei Xiao didn't dodge, the words spilling out instinctively. I'm not mistaken, today is Mangling's birthday. Not yours. This gift is for her, and her alone. 8. I've done so many things I'm sorry for. If you're sorry, then just drop it. This is really pointless. I gave a faint, cold smile. I handed Pei Xiao the steamed bun, casually pushing the flowers and gift aside. Thanks for the well wishes, but I won't accept the gift. We're not that close. The exquisite gift box tumbled off the table, landing right at Pei Xiao's feet. He lowered his gaze, stunned. Julien's expression flickered with uncertainty as she dashed into the shop and linked her arm with mine. Xiaoling, it really hurts to hear you say that. The 3 of us are supposed to be the best of friends in the whole world. However, there's something I need to tell you. Pei Xiao and I both applied to H University of Technology. I won't be able to accompany you for university in the capital like I did in our past life. Julien blinked innocently, her eyes brimming with smugness. Stop pretending. We've all been reborn, haven't we? Since we got this second chance, we have to choose the optimal path for our lives. You understand, right? Julien, that's enough. Pei Xiao cut Julien off in a low voice. His gaze held a trace of guilt and shame. Julien has a fever. I'll take her home first. Don't fill out your college applications carelessly. Wait for me to come back and help you review them. There are many universities in City H. And your scores are more than enough to get you in. We won't abandon you. Meng Ling, wait for me to come back. The midsummer sun beat down, making clothes hot to the touch, while the cicadas' drone was unceasing. Pei Xiao led Julien towards the taxi. Across the street, my mother urged me to hurry up and close the shop. As the moving truck was about to leave, she asked me if that was Pei Xiao and Julien. Did you give them the new address? I shook my head. There's no need. We each have our own path to walk. The mountain bird and the fish walk different paths. From now on, our worlds shall not meet. 9. Repeating a year of study has helped me gradually regain my best form. If I fail, I'm prepared to try for another year. I never expected to receive the acceptance letter just as summer vacation was ending. It turns out the most frightening thing in life isn't failing time and again. It's drifting through life without purpose, only realizing in old age what you truly wanted. The chance to even fail is gone. On the first day of school, I gave a speech on behalf of the new students. My gaze swept across the audience and suddenly landed on a familiar face, Pei Xiao. His black hair had grown longer, falling to partly obscure his eyes, which held a steady, composed gaze. Last year, in the final hour of submitting his university applications, he changed his choices and, just as in a past life, stayed in the capital, and Julien, in her pursuit of him, had actually given up her place at University H and chosen to repeat her final year of high school. Unfortunately, she fell just a few points short on her retake exams, missing out on a top-tier university and settling for an ordinary college next door. She was no longer the campus goddess, her halo had vanished. Now, she was simply Pei Xiao's girlfriend, leaning happily on his arm, past and present. Their roles had reversed. I guess this is the life she wanted. Our dorm went to Haidaleo for hot pot in the evening. I stepped away to take a call, and when I came back, my roommate had already fixed a dipping sauce for me, oil and vinegar base, with Thai chili. Hold the cilantro. I'm not allergic to mangoes. My favorite mushroom platter and shrimp paste were also placed right in front of me. We just met. How would I know what you like? The handsome guy at the next table dished that up for you. What's your relationship with him? He's been sneaking glances at you this whole time. My roommate pointed to the next table for me to see. It was Pei Xiao again. 10. When has Pei Xiao ever cared about my preferences? All I remember is that he was proud and ambitious, completely absorbed in his research and never gave a second thought to such trivial matters. Ask him to buy vinegar, and he'd come back with soy sauce. I'm allergic to mangoes, yet he still brought back several crates of mango specialties from his business trip to Hainan. In their later years, they would attend dinner parties together. He ordered 8 dishes that Julin loves, but couldn't name a single one that I liked. Julin and I often eat together at the institute, so we know each other's tastes. Don't read too much into it. The disappointment had long since piled up into a mountain. Even if you laid your heart bare right in front of me, I wouldn't believe it either. My roommate asked me again, what exactly is your relationship? Is he your boyfriend? I shook my head and pushed the side dishes away. We're not close. Don't just take things from strangers. What if it's poisoned? At Pei Xiao's table, everyone was laughing, chatting, and clinking glasses, while he alone stared blankly at the hot pot. The billowing steam blurred his handsome features, and the light in his eyes gradually dimmed. Not long after, Zhu Lin returned from the restroom. She noticed that Pei Xiao hadn't lifted a finger to help her, not even folding her coat, which was left exactly where she'd dropped it. A flicker of complicated emotions passed through her eyes. Suppressing the turmoil within, she turned and greeted me. What a coincidence, Xiao Ling. Has it really been a year since we last met? Oh, I almost forgot to tell you, Pei Xiao and I are dating now. Come to think of it, we're both a year older than you. You can call me sister-in-law or him brother-in-law, whichever you prefer. When we get married, you're definitely invited to the wedding. Zhu Lin took Pei Xiao's hand. With nothing else to hold on to, I just picked up my phone and smiled back at her. The phone screen displayed the scholarship that had just been deposited. We were all quite content with our lives after being reborn. A flicker of sudden realization passed through Pei Xiao's eyes. His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed back the words he was about to say. As the evening crowd dispersed, I was waiting alone by the roadside for a ride when I suddenly heard an argument break out behind me. Pei Xiao's friend stumbled out of the shop door, cursing under his breath as he wiped blood from the corner of his mouth. What the hell is wrong with you, man? All I did was ask if that art school girl had a boyfriend and to pass me her WeChat. What did I ever do to you? Why'd you have to go and hit me for no reason? The haze of drunkenness clouded Pei Xiao's eyes. Upon hearing it, he suddenly shook off Zhu Lin's support, lunged forward, and pinned his friend to the ground, pummeling him, blow after blow. His eyes reddened at the corners with pure hatred. You dare lay a hand on another man's wife? Say that again, I dare you. So your wife is your art school junior? Then who the hell is Zhu Lin? Have you lost your mind? Meng Ling. My wife's name is Meng Ling. 11. The winter wind swept through the bare branches. A few fallen leaves were flung roughly onto Pei Xiao's shoulder, as if whispering tales of absurdity and sorrow. Zhu Lin and I stood on opposite sides of the road, watching Pei Xiao sob and whimper, watching him lost in confusion. In the end, clear-headed and calm, we each turned and went home. No matter how late the sunset comes, it will eventually fall upon me, and you have long since ceased to be my light. During my university years, I dedicated myself to my studies and received considerable mentorship from the dean. The internship opportunity one missed in my past life has now become the main focus of my graduate research. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm at the Palace Museum studying ancient painting restoration. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays are for classes. My side gig, a webcomic I serialize online, has even earned me a few $100,000, enough to let my mom retire and take it easy. By 2032, technological advancements have made it possible to use chemical techniques to recreate the pigments used in ancient paintings. Pei Xiao's research focus was also on aerospace coatings. Through a web of connections, we finally met at an industry conference. The former campus heartthrob, Pei Xiao, had long shed his youthful naivety. A sharp black suit now accentuated his composed and steady presence. During the intermission, he and a colleague came over to exchange business cards. Mingling with the crowd, he asked me, as if by chance, care to join me for dinner tonight? I'm sorry, I don't eat after noon. Pei Xiao stood quietly in the bustling crowd, his gaze fixed on me, eyes shimmering. I always knew you were talented and destined for great things. It was my fault for holding you back in our past life. Let's not waste words on past lives. Mei Ling, Do you have to be like this? You're in the way. Could you move? Pei Xiao froze for a few seconds, a bitter smile slowly spreading across his face. A marriage that has lasted over 60 years. Now, there isn't even the patience for 6 sentences. Perhaps this is how our story ends. The second half of the seminar was terribly dull, so I packed up my things, bent down, and headed for the exit. Pei Xiao's seat was in the last few rows. As we passed each other, I heard him ask me softly in a hoarse, trembling voice, "Zhu Lin just gave birth to a son. I have to honor my promise and marry her. If you don't agree, we can just pretend this never happened, you and I, continuing to walk hand in hand for the rest of our lives." 12. I thought I'd misheard and turned to look at Pei Xiao. His breath hitched, and he quickly averted his gaze, his sharply defined profile disappearing into the shadows. Must have been hearing things. Did someone just speak? Was that even a language? I really couldn't care less about Zhu Lin having a baby, but I ran into her anyway when I went to the hospital for a checkup. "Xiaoling, is that really you? It's been 5 years. How have you been? Oh, look at me. I've already had the baby, and I didn't even have Pei Xiao let you know." Zhu Lin was wheeled back to her hospital room by an orderly. She was holding Pei Xiao's hand tightly, as if to show off to me. Her pale face was radiant with happiness. "Well, I'm just glad we got to see each other. We're heading to H City soon to get married and settle down. Who knows when we'll meet again." It had only been 5 years, but Zhu Lin had aged dreadfully. Her hair was dry and straw-like, her face etched with an exhaustion she couldn't hide, a stark contrast to the vibrant, spirited woman she had been in her past life. She had given up her place at a prestigious university, abandoned her studies to focus on the relationship, and forfeited her diploma to get pregnant and push for marriage. So what if she has memories of a past life? Now she doesn't even qualify to submit a resume to the research institute. All that's left is Pei Xiao. Was it really worth it? I gave Jilin's shoulder a gentle pat. "Yeah, we probably won't get another chance to see each other. I'm part of the university's international exchange program. After graduation, I'll be posted there to teach. I might not be coming back." Jilin's smile slowly froze on her face, a flicker of confusion crossed his gaze, quickly drowned by an overwhelming wave of exhaustion. The next second, Pei Xiao accidentally knocked over the floor stand. His face had turned ashen. "I think I know what he's panicking about." The nurse brought out his and Zhu Lin's son. His appearance was identical to the son Zhu Lin had given birth to out of wedlock in her previous life. They were exactly the same. 13. In my past life, my best friend Zhu Lin got drunk and lost her virginity. Unable to bear the thought of ending an innocent life, she gritted her teeth and decided to have the baby. She told me not to feel sorry for her. "I'm a modern, independent woman. I don't need to rely on a man to live a good life." That's what she said, but the truth was, she knew nothing about raising a child and couldn't even cook a proper meal. When work gets busy, he wouldn't come home for months on end. I practically raised her son, Zhu Jiaming, myself, and even gave him a generous red envelope when he got married and had children. However, after Pei Xiao and Zhu Lin passed away, Zhu Jiaming and his daughter donated the couple's entire estate in their own names, earning themselves a fine reputation. I couldn't afford the chemotherapy in time and ended up dying in agony at home. I don't understand why the child I raised with my own hands would treat me this way. Only now do I understand. It turns out they were the real family all along, and I was the only one kept in the dark. "Jiaming, come quick and meet your godmother." "He is not to be called Jiaming. He is not." Pei Xiao shoved the child aside with such force that he nearly knocked over the nurse, leaving everyone too stunned to speak. He ran out of the hospital in pursuit. He chased me all the way to the parking lot and desperately grabbed my car door. "Meng Ling, I admit that in my past life, I had feelings for Zhu Lin. I only gave you that confession letter on New Year's Eve out of spite. For the decades that followed, my indecisiveness caused you so much pain, but now I see my own heart clearly. Please, just let me make it up to you. Even if I was wrong, please don't go." I stared at Zhu Lin, her face expressionless in the second-floor window. I looked at Zhu Jiaming, wailing in her arms. A wave of uncontrollable nausea churned in my gut. Belated affection is truly revolting. "Get away from me. Don't you dare touch my car." I shoved Pei Xiao aside with force, got into the car, and slammed the door shut. His eyes were bloodshot, like a flawed idol cast down from its altar, as he desperately confronted me through the window. "So you don't want our daughter either. You don't love her. You don't want to be her mother anymore. Our daughter, Pei Jinglan. It seems she prefers Zhu Lin, her beautiful mother." She only posts photos with Zhu Lin on social media, and only brings souvenirs back for her from trips. Zhu Lin was even the one who walked her down the aisle at her wedding. I'm like the unpaid housekeeper, silently devoting my whole life to her. I will not give birth to a knife that turns against me, with a father carrying such inferior genes. It's better not to have the child at all. She had no reason to be brought into this world. Using children to emotionally blackmail women is the most foolish tactic. No matter how times change, the decision to have a child ultimately rests with the woman. I don't like it, then she shouldn't have been born. After leaving the hospital that day, I just couldn't shake off this feeling of unease. I wrote an anonymous letter of complaint to the Research Institute overnight. Pei Xiao has disgusted me one too many times. Why should I let him have it easy? 14. My youth was a smooth and brilliant ride. Full of dazzling success, I graduated from a top university, studied under renowned masters, and my stellar resume was the envy of countless peers. The comic I created in college also sold its rights for multiple adaptations. It was ultimately greenlit for a film or TV adaptation, output only translation, matching, content_type, format. An 8-figure royalty check secured financial freedom at a young age, in his 30s. He was specially appointed to return to China as an associate professor at a university, with a future full of promise. My career keeps me too busy to start a family, so I don't have to worry about the kids, the elderly, or a husband who's clueless about life. On those sleepless midnights, I'm no longer crying alone in secret. Instead, I get up to check how many tens of thousands have rolled into my stocks and funds, then drift back to sleep with a contented smile. Those memories from my past life grow more distant by the day. It feels like only now am I living the life that was stolen from me. In my second year back home, I ran into Pei Xiao again. The Research Institute was a gathering of brilliant minds, and the competition was fierce. Back when I wrote that letter of complaint, I truly thought it would ruin Pei Xiao's career. Little did I know. He left the Research Institute for good and is now an executive at a Fortune 500 company. At the University Industry Collaboration Exchange, he walked towards me with such grace, as dashing and spirited as he was in a past life. A colleague came over to hand him a business card, mistaking us for a married couple. I was just about to speak when Pei Xiao, with a faint smile, tacitly acknowledged it and smoothly changed the subject. Suddenly, a woman rushed into the venue, her eyes rimmed red as she pushed us aside. It was Zhu Lin, 15. She was wearing an ill-fitting women's suit. Having lost one of her high heels in her haste, her makeup was caked and garish, her hair a dry, unkempt yellow, and her figure had lost its shape. From head to toe, there was no trace of the person she had been in her past life. Pei Xiao, while my father was fighting for his life in the hospital, when I was begging you on the phone to contact a surgical specialist, you were busy canoodling with this bitch, weren't you? Where were you when I needed you? Have you no shame at all? Zhu Lin pointed at Pei Xiao, screaming hysterically, uncaring of the number of spectators, acquaintances, or the live-streaming cameras. She was like a raving lunatic, raising her arm high to slap me. The next second, Pei Xiao shoved her to the ground without mercy and called for security to restore order. Zhu Lin knocked over a champagne tower, drawing everyone's attention. She scrambled to her feet, her face flushed with embarrassment. Suddenly, she froze, not knowing what had happened. As 2 lines of tears streamed from her vacant eyes, I realized she had wet herself. So this is how pitiful and wretched I was in my past life. So that's what it looks like when Pei Xiao doesn't love someone. It's painfully obvious. Why is it that he can always stand there, looking impeccable, while he watches the tragedy of 2 women unfold, during the tea break? I found Zhu Lin in the hotel restroom. She had soiled the hotel toilet, and it wouldn't come clean with regular bathroom cleaner. So, she went to the utility closet and found a bottle of bleach. Just as she was twisting the cap off, I stopped her. You can't mix those two. That's basic common sense. Have you forgotten you used to be a chemist? Zhu Lin stood there in her soiled clothes, dazed. Her fists clenched so tightly that her fingernails dug deep into her palms. Perhaps she had truly forgotten. She never studied hard later on, never held a job, becoming a full-time housewife for over a decade, to the point where even her memories of her past life were growing hazy. I had a student bring over a gown and some cosmetics, then bent down to wipe the cheap foundation from her face and carefully redrew her eyebrows, just like back in the day, when I fell during the 800-meter run on the field, my worn-out canvas shoe flying off into the distance. And she was the one who helped me up while everyone else laughed. And just like how she bent down to help me put on the latest pair of sneakers, the friendship between two people is pure. The friendship among three people is pretty good too, but when did the friendship between the three of us start to turn sour? You say the price of fame and success is having someone sacrifice in silence behind the scenes. That person gets no recognition, no reward, not even a shred of genuine affection in return. Do you think she's content with that? On what grounds? I don't know how much you love Pei Xiao, but before you love someone else, learn to love yourself first. 16. Although Pei Xiao didn't continue his project research after his rebirth, his abilities remained intact. His research findings completely changed the game for the entire coatings industry. His impressive resume and striking looks also paid off handsomely, attracting hundreds of thousands of followers on social media. All he needed was to secure one more multinational deal, and he would be promoted to president of the Asia region. But right at the critical moment of signing, his father fell critically ill, and his son was arrested for getting into a fight. Zhu Lin has always taken care of everything at home, managing all the household affairs, but who would have thought, with Zhu Lin away on a business trip and her phone unreachable, there was suddenly no one to handle any of it. While Pei Xiao was caught in a dilemma between his career and family, the foreign client lost patience first and called off the collaboration. They just don't get it. Why do some people prioritize their career over family, and hesitate over such a choice? Pei Xiao got the first multiple-choice question wrong, and his career stalled. He still carried that air of scientific pride, looking down on his less gifted colleagues, and continued to bury himself in solitary research and business trips. Without Zhu Lin's attentive care, his health quickly deteriorated. Without Zhu Lin to manage his professional relationships and navigate office politics for him, he was sidelined at work, pushed out of the core team, and now faces the threat of redundancy. He had signed a top-tier non-compete agreement, barring him from working in the same industry for at least a decade. His research achievements were also carved up by his former colleagues. How could a scientist who spent his whole life in an ivory tower ever outmaneuver the old foxes of the fame and fortune game? As luck would have it, I was at the institute that day with a few students to collect some materials. On our way out, we ran right into Pei Xiao, causing a scene at the entrance, clutching his exclusive research findings. He claimed it was his future award-winning trump card and demanded to see the dean. His student from a past life took the document, looked it over, and shook his head with a smile. The issue of aerospace coatings withstanding extreme temperatures is no longer a challenge. This material of yours is outdated, and the formula is even written incorrectly. Pei Xiao was taken aback for a moment before defending himself. In the past, my wife and colleagues were always the ones responsible for compiling materials. I'm not good with paperwork. It was probably just a clerical error. Take a closer look. What do you know? My achievements are irreplaceable. Have you received any formal training or education? How many hours a day do you spend in the lab? What gives you this confidence? The students urged Pei Xiao to go to the hospital and called security to have him removed, threatening to call the police otherwise. We stared at each other across the chaotic crowd. In Pei Xiao's bloodshot eyes flickered confusion and rage, before he finally collapsed heavily onto the ground, like ordinary humble dust by the roadside, forgotten and ignored. Life is full of countless choices, each leading to a different outcome, one wrong answer, and you can never get back to the same ending. 17. In the blink of an eye, I've reached middle age. I led a group of fine arts students in creating a large-scale, aerospace-themed art book, which I submitted on behalf of the school for a top-tier engineering award. I received a call from Pei Xiao on my way to the presentation. He sounded a bit weak. My account hit 1 million followers today, and I published an article. The person I most want to thank is you. It's a shame I never got the chance to say it in our past life. I irritably pressed the end call button. Pei Xiao, as if reading my mind, begged me to let him finish. Waiting for your forgiveness is truly difficult. I suppose it's because I've let you down too much. You must have liked me for a long time, right? I should have realized at the moment you gave up your art exam to rush to the hospital and donate blood for me. It was me who was too slow to understand. If I were in another car accident, would you still drop everything to come to me? In a sudden flash of memory, I finally understood just how despicable a person like Pei Xiao truly was. In this life and the last, he loved no one but himself. He quietly reaps the benefits of one woman's devotion and another's affection. Using their goodwill to pave the way for his own glorious future, he forever fancies himself a man of profound feeling, a perpetual hypocrite. Don't tell me you've been in a car accident. The blood bank can't source your rare blood type, so you contacted both me and Zhu Lin separately to test which of us loves you more. Why don't you just die? Pei Xiao. A long, dead tone came from the other end of the line, so I tossed the phone aside, parked the car, and got on with my business. It wasn't until evening that I heard the news of Pei Xiao's death. Just as I had feared, he was in a serious car accident. In his final moments, he called both me and Zhu Lin. Unfortunately, one of us was busy with a presentation, the other was tied up with a project bid. We each assumed the other would have the heart to save him. In the end, no one was saved. Pei Xiao's will explicitly stated that his entire estate was to be bequeathed to me. I donated all of that money, in my name. On the day the donation papers were signed, Zhu Jiaming flew into a rage and started cursing. Who do you think you are, acting all noble? That's my father's money, my family's money. What gives you the right to donate it all? Did you earn it? He had a mortgage to pay on the house he just bought. He wants to marry the girl he loves, but he can't afford the bride price. His mother, Zhu Lin, has just fallen ill and will require a large sum of money for treatment. Knowing everything, Zhu Lin didn't make a scene. She just pulled Zhu Jiaming aside and told him to be quiet and stop embarrassing himself. What's meant to be mine will be mine. What isn't, I don't even want. What's with the tears? It's just money. I can earn it all back myself. Sunlight fell on her face, which was no longer young, yet her eyes shone with determination. It was as if I could see Zhu Lin at 18. The one who had failed her exam, tearing up the test paper and walking away without a care. I hadn't seen that look on her face in a long, long time. The ringing phone snapped me out of my thoughts. A student informed me that one of my illustrations has won an award and will be included in a future middle school textbook. It's not a science comic, nor is it a promotional illustration. It is, in fact, an original piece of artwork, typeset to follow Xu Ting's essay. The theme is female awakening. To live for oneself, not in dependence on another. No more one-sided giving, sacrificing, or looking up to others. Live your life as boldly and unapologetically as a tree. This journey through life, with all its mountains and valleys, is one you take for yourself alone. Story 2. In the 3rd year of his daughter's abduction, Fu Yu gave up searching. He said life and death are fated, and he couldn't be too selfish. Living well in the present was most important, but later. His white moonlight also disappeared, yet Fu Yu's hair turned white overnight, and he searched for his white moonlight for 50 full years. In this second life, I protected my daughter first and filed for divorce. Unexpectedly, Fu Yu also got reborn. On his first night back, he booked flight tickets and took his white moonlight abroad for a vacation. It wasn't until half a year later that he finally remembered our daughter. Fu Yu held the doll he bought from the airport, wanting to pick up his daughter after school, but his daughter pushed him away without hesitation and threw herself into another man's arms. Sorry, I already have a new dad. 1. The news of Qing Ye's disappearance came just after I had a big fight with Fu Yu. He grabbed my shoulders, nearly roaring. Yuan Yuan has been missing for 3 years. We've tried everything, but we simply can't find her. Life must go on. Can't you just move forward? I reached out and slapped him hard, feeling utterly heartbroken. But we're Yuan Yuan's parents. If we don't keep looking for her, she'll truly never come back. Yuan Yuan is the daughter of me and Fu Yu. When she was 5 years old, the nanny took her to sunbathe in the neighborhood, but in the blink of an eye when the nanny turned around, the child was gone. The nanny was too scared to call the police immediately, missing the best chance to save Yuan Yuan. Fu Yu and I tried countless methods, but there was never any trace of Yuan Yuan. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. This year marks the 3rd year of her disappearance. Fu Yu suddenly told me that he didn't want to continue searching anymore. He also hoped I would give up, move forward, live well in the present, and that we could have another child. His cold indifference made me feel alienated and heartbroken for a time. Yuan Yuan is a piece of my own flesh and blood. To have a piece of flesh forcibly carved away would be too painful. I simply couldn't give up. Thus, we had the most intense arguments since our marriage. In the past, I always liked him a bit more and was somewhat willing to yield to him. Fu Yu took advantage of my affection to force me into concessions, but when it came to Yuan Yuan, I absolutely would not yield. Every single item in the house was thrown and smashed. The hysterical shouting nearly drained all my strength. He watched coldly, as if observing a clown. Shani, you're so selfish. For a child who can't be found, must you stir up such turmoil in the family? His initial guilt gradually turned into impatience. After leaving these words, he turned and entered the room, locking the door behind him. The noisy living room suddenly fell into silence. I sat on the living room sofa, looking at my daughter's photo on my phone, unable to stop the tears. But the next second, someone suddenly sent a message in the high school class group chat. It said that Chinya had gone missing, that smart and beautiful girl, who had just transferred to our class in high school, immediately caught the attention of many boys, including Fuyu. I just saw this message and didn't even have time to think, but the previously tightly shut door was suddenly opened. Fuyu looked flustered, constantly making phone calls that never went through, muttering, "Aya, please don't let anything happen to you." Fuyu had always been composed. Even when Yuanyuan went missing before, he maintained his usual calmness, never appearing as panicked as now with his hands trembling. To Fuyu, Chinya was like the pure moonlight in the depths of his heart. In the past, I never thought much of it. Fuyu is the man I've loved since childhood. Our families were well matched, and we could be considered childhood sweethearts. I loved him. I've loved him since I was little. But his indifferent nature made me give up hope when I noticed his special treatment towards Chinya during high school. Later, Chinya chose to study abroad and voluntarily gave up on him, causing their budding relationship to wither before it could blossom. Fuyu remained depressed for a long time before gradually emerging from the gloom, never mentioning Chinya again. I continued as always, staying by his side year after year. Fortunately, I finally waited for him to confess his feelings to me. We became a couple, then got married and had children, including our lovely Yuanyuan. I truly cherish this relationship, but now, it seems I'm just a complete joke. I thought Fuyu was only acting out of character because of that high school crush, which is why he lost his composure upon learning Chinya had gone missing. But I never expected that after confirming Chinya's disappearance, he would grieve so intensely that his hair turned white overnight. Yet when Yuanyuan went missing back then, he remained perfectly calm without showing the slightest sign of distress. So it turns out, one wouldn't like a child born from a woman they don't love either. In the end, it was Fuyu who decided to help the Qing family search for the missing Chinya. I asked him, "What about our daughter? What about that daughter who was kidnapped by human traffickers and missing for 3 whole years?" Fuyu avoided eye contact. "We've searched for Yuanyuan for 3 years, that's long enough, but Chinya is different. She just went missing. Maybe if we try harder, we can find her." That try harder lasted a lifetime. I spent my life looking for Yuanyuan, while he spent his searching for Chinya. Because of this, we had countless conflicts. I urged him to give up. After all, Chinya had her own family and friends, her own parents searching for her. Yuanyuan needed us more. But Fuyu angrily scolded me. "Shani, you're too selfish. Chinya is a living human being. How could we possibly abandon her?" Disappointment, heartbreak, and hatred made me completely lose faith in this man. In our twilight years, we still hadn't found Yuanyuan, and Chinya could only lie on their respective hospital beds. I looked at my daughter's photo while he gazed at Chinya's picture, his eyes filled with sorrow, a scene dripping with irony. "If we could start over. I truly wish Yuanyuan never had you as a father, because he truly didn't deserve it, too." But to my surprise, I actually got reborn, and I was reborn back to the very day my daughter was abducted by human traffickers. I rushed out the door, almost sprinting all the way, just wanting to save my Yuanyuan before that damn trafficker appeared. Fortunately, before the trafficker could get close to Yuanyuan, I finally managed to pick up the child first and shouted loudly, urging the negligent nanny to call the police immediately. A child trafficker sneaking into the neighborhood is a serious matter. Many residents feared the trafficker might have accomplices who could harm their children, so they gathered here, waiting for the police to arrive and ensure the trafficker faces legal consequences. I didn't leave either, but while waiting, I spotted Fuyu rushing out from a distance, but at this time, he should have just returned from his business trip, exhausted, and currently adjusting to jet lag in the bedroom, sleeping until evening. It wasn't until the nanny couldn't find the child no matter how hard she searched that she had no choice but to inform me of Yuanyuan's disappearance. It was upon hearing these words that Fuyu suddenly woke up. But now, why does it feel somewhat different? Could it be that Fuyu has also been reborn? But if Fuyu had been reborn, he should know that the most urgent matter now is to save poor Yuanyuan. Not to panic and run out, but I didn't have time to think too much, because with the arrival of the police, I had to hold Yuanyuan and go give a statement first. By the time we finished the procedures and returned home, it had already grown dark. "Where's Daddy?" Yuanyuan held my hand as we entered the house, then immediately dashed into the bedroom. She adores Fu Yu, always clinging to his legs and calling him daddy in her sweet, childish voice. But the bedroom was empty. Fu Yu still hadn't come home. Yuan felt somewhat disappointed, but being the obedient child she always was, she still managed to keep a smile on her face. Not seeing her father, she simply assumed it was like before, thinking he had too much work. I haven't finished reading my book yet. Daddy would be upset if he knew Yuan wasn't reading. She cheerfully ran to the living room, found herself a spot to sit down, and started reading the storybook attentively while holding it in her arms. The regrets from my past life make it impossible for me to bear being apart from Yuan even for a moment now. I held her in my arms as we sat in the living room. She turned her head and smiled at me, then gave me a kiss on the cheek. Don't be sad, Mommy. Daddy will be home from work soon. Yuan will wait with you. Perhaps it was because of memories from my past life. This man I once loved deeply, whom I hated for half a lifetime. Now that I've been reborn, even if everything returns to normal, I no longer want to wrong myself or my daughter. Divorce is inevitable, but Fu Yu's phone was completely unreachable, always powered off. It was as if he had vanished from the face of the earth. For a full day and night, I couldn't get in touch with Fu Yu. Was Daddy taken away by bad people? Though Yuan was young, she was more mature than her peers and could always keenly sense my emotions. She tugged at my skirt with her small hands, her eyes filled with sadness. I quickly bent down to hold her in my arms, whispering comfortingly, "No, perhaps Daddy was delayed by something important, but the day after tomorrow is Yuan's birthday, and Daddy will definitely come back." Really, her big round eyes were wide open, brimming with anticipation. But the truth was, he went to find Qingye. In the evening, I held Yuan while reading her bedtime storybook. When she fell asleep in my arms, I picked up my phone nearby, opened the social feed, and immediately saw Qingye's latest post. One picture, one line of text. The picture, a pair of hands wrapped around her waist, looking extremely intimate. Word, after going around in circles, I finally waited for your confession. On the index finger of the right hand, there is a scar, and quite amusingly, Fu Yu has one too. And in the comments section, everyone was wishing Qingye and that unseen man happiness and fulfillment. I glanced at the IP address below this WeChat Moments post. It's an island abroad. That place has long been known as the perfect spot for couples to check in. When Fu Yu and I first started dating, he said he would take me there for a trip and flaunt our love extravagantly, but he was too busy with work, so we had to wait. We waited until we got married, then waited until we had children. Year after year we waited. Yet it all came to nothing in the end. Now, Fu Yu has abandoned everything just to make up for that long-lost feeling in his heart, traveling abroad with his white moonlight in perfect bliss. I lowered my head to look at that photo, feeling not the slightest ripple of emotion in my heart. Perhaps it was too much disappointment in a past life. I've hurt, cried, and even made a scene. After the hysteria, when our eyes met, all that remained was disappointment and resentment. I opened that image, zoomed in, and then saved it. Since the decision to divorce has been made, I will definitely fight for Yuan's custody, and all the evidence that can prove his infidelity. I will keep backups, so that during the divorce, I can secure the maximum benefits for myself. 4. I had a lawyer draft the divorce agreement, but Fu Yu is currently abroad and has deliberately cut off all means of contact, so I can't immediately deliver the agreement to him. I can only wait for now and then tell my parents about this matter. But just as I expected, when I first mentioned wanting to divorce Fu Yu, my parents strongly objected. I didn't hide anything and directly told them about Fu Yu's affair. My mother stared at the photo in silence for a long time. Finally, she looked up at me with an unreadable expression in her eyes. Some things are better left unspoken. Let it go, and life will move on, especially now that you have a daughter. For the child's sake, don't be so selfish. Okay, my own mother asked me to tolerate my husband's infidelity, for the sake of our child, though I'd known for a long time that my parents were equally cold-hearted, prioritizing work and family interests above all else. But I never expected that, even at this point, my happiness would still be outweighed by the ridiculous benefits brought by that arranged marriage. No, Mom. If I choose to muddle along, that would be true selfishness and irresponsibility. This is my life, not Yuan's. I can take good care of her all by myself, at least, whether Fu Yu was there or not. Those past few years made no difference anyway. I do feel guilty towards my Yuan, because I can't give her a complete family. But the one who caused all this is not me. So why should I be left alone to swallow the bitter fruit that Fuyu planted? My father flew into a rage, slapped me, and said even if I got divorced, he would never let me come home again. If I divorce, I'll completely become shiny without a home. I couldn't hold back and shed a few tears. It's fine, consider it the end of our father-daughter bond. In any case, divorce is inevitable. I left with Yuan but didn't go straight home. Halfway through the drive, I couldn't contain my emotions anymore, so I found a quiet spot to park. In front of my daughter, I broke down and cried rather pathetically. Yuan was very well behaved. She unbuckled her own car seat, climbed to the front passenger side, and without saying a word, just reached out to gently pat my back. When I looked up, she took 2 tissues to wipe my tears. Mommy, don't be sad. Yuan is here. Yuan will always be here. Her voice still carried that sweet, childish tone. I looked at her and asked, if mommy and daddy have to separate, and you have to stay with mommy, would you be okay with that? Yuan didn't answer immediately, but tilted her head as if thinking. After a long while, she asked me in return, would mom be happy if we left dad? Would the tears stop falling then? I didn't know how to answer her question. With a slightly choked voice, I murmured an Yuan immediately burst into laughter, stretching out her tiny hands to hug me, mimicking how I used to hold her. Yuan wants mommy to be happy, doesn't want mommy to cry. Daddy is bad, I don't want him either. Completely unable to hold back, I hugged Yuan tightly and started crying. The little girl was all smiles at first, but suddenly her lips quivered as if she'd suffered immense grievance, then buried herself in my arms and wept. Crying too intensely led to overwhelming emotions, and suddenly my chest started aching. Yuan also knows I have a heart condition. Immediately wiping away tears, she searched everywhere in the car for my medicine. But the chest pain was so severe that my vision began to blur, and I nearly fainted. Just before completely losing consciousness, I faintly saw Yuan frantically pick up my phone and imitate my actions to call Fuyu, but the call never got through. 5. When I woke up, I found myself lying on a hospital bed. I was only dazed for a couple of seconds. I quickly got up from the hospital bed and looked around. Where's Yuan? Suddenly fell unconscious. I'm really worried something might happen to Yuan, because I truly can't bear the pain of losing her a second time. Perhaps hearing my voice, Yuan, who was sitting on the sofa, put down the picture book in her hands and came running to the hospital bed. I quickly held her in my arms. Yuan sat by the hospital bed, her eyes still glistening with tears. Mom, you're finally awake. Her voice still carried a sob, yet she managed to smile sweetly as she leaned against me quietly. Just watching me without saying another word, I asked her, Yuan, who brought mom to the hospital? Yuan counted on her fingers as if recalling. It was a very handsome uncle. As her words fell, someone happened to push open the ward door. The person spoke. Awake. I instinctively looked toward the door, and upon clearly seeing who had arrived, couldn't help but widen my eyes before exclaiming, Ji Yanli. Ji Yanli is also my high school classmate. But he and Fuyu are completely different types. Fuyu is aloof, like an unattainable flower on a high peak, sacred and inviolable, but Ji Yanli is sunny, always enthusiastic about people and things, with a constant smile on his face, warming everyone around him. Not only that, but we also grew up together. Grandpa Ji had always been fond of me since childhood. Back then, our families jokingly talked about arranging a childhood betrothal. But later I met Fuyu and became completely devoted to following him around. Later on, Fuyu and I officially became a couple, while Ji Yanli happened to receive an admission letter from a prestigious foreign university around that time and subsequently chose to study abroad. In my past life, Ji Yanli never chose to return to China, or perhaps he did come back. But at that time I was entirely preoccupied with my missing daughter and didn't pay much attention to anything else. So now, suddenly seeing him again, I feel as if a whole lifetime has passed between us. You have a heart condition, and since childhood, doctors have warned you to avoid strong emotional fluctuations. Fortunately, this time I happened to be driving by. Ji Yanli peeled an apple for me, carefully cut it into small pieces, placed them on a plate, inserted toothpicks, then handed one piece to me and another to Yuan. Yuan thanked him and smiled innocently. Uncle Ji. How did you know mom always likes her apples cut into tiny pieces? Ji Yanli gently tapped her nose with his finger, his gaze warm and smiling as he looked at me, just as always, though now with a hint of teasing. Since childhood, she's been the most pampered one. If it's not cut properly, would she even eat it? Yuanyuan shook her head, but at home, Dad never cuts fruit for Mom, it's always Mom who prepares it and serves it to Dad. Hearing this, Ji Yanli stopped laughing. He stared at me quietly without saying a word, and we just locked eyes like that for a long time. Hey, Ji Yanli, why have you been staring at me like that? It's making me feel a bit uneasy. I pretended to lower my head and eat some fruit, but Ji Yanli suddenly raised his hand and flicked my forehead. It still hurt quite a bit. Ji Yanli, that really hurt. I'm still a patient, you know. I couldn't help but let out a loud cry. We were childhood sweethearts, as familiar with each other as could be. Apart from the initial awkwardness and surprise, we've now somewhat returned to our former ease. In front of Ji Yanli, I'm always unreasonable and deliberately bully him, and he would let me bully him, just like now. After I yelled at him, he simply pretended not to hear and then handed me another piece of apple. Don't get worked up, have some more fruit. I directly grabbed the plate, stuffed 2 pieces into my mouth, but still couldn't help muttering, haven't seen each other for years, and the first thing you do is hit me without any explanation. Ji Yanli shrugged with a smile, can't help it, I've always enjoyed teasing you since we were kids. With that, he turned and walked out, saying he was going to find my attending physician. I kept my head down eating fruit, so I didn't hear what he said as he was leaving. I can't bear to see you wrong yourself. If only I could knock some sense into that love-struck brain of yours. 6. There's nothing seriously wrong with my health. After waking up, the attending physician examined me again and then let me go home to rest. I've made up my mind to divorce. The marital home we currently live in is under Fuyu's name, and I don't intend to stay. I plan to move out with Yuanyuan. I own several properties under my name. I let Yuanyuan pick her favorite one. And we're ready to move in directly. Ji Yanli knew about my divorce and my immediate moving plans. Without hesitation, he came to help. In less than a day, he moved all mine and Yuanyuan's belongings to the new place. The new home is just 1 street away from the house where Ji Yanli currently lives. Yuanyuan was overjoyed when she found out. Do you like Uncle Ji very much? At night, I held Yuanyuan in my arms as she nestled against me, chattering endlessly about Ji Yanli. These past few days, Ji Yanli seems to have no work at all, coming over every day to mooch meals. Yuanyuan hangs out with him as soon as school ends, and the two hit it off immediately, playing together wonderfully. On weekends, they even made plans to go out together, completely leaving me out. I feel like an extra. Yuanyuan sensed my sadness and quickly hugged my neck, giving me 2 kisses. Uncle Ji is great. He's willing to play with me and is very patient, unlike Dad, who's always busy, forever busy. He didn't even come to my birthday yesterday. Uncle Ji stayed with me and gave me the birthday present I wanted most. If Uncle Ji were my dad, that would be great. By the end of Yuanyuan's words, there was a trace of sadness in her eyes. A child's world is simple, though she might not be clever enough yet. She could keenly sense Fuyu's aloofness. In contrast, Ji Yanli gave her the paternal love she had never received before. My heart ached even more for my daughter as I held her tightly in my arms. Fuyu truly doesn't deserve to be a father. 7. In the afternoon, when Yuanyuan came back from school, she seemed somewhat unhappy. I asked her, but she barely responded to me. It wasn't until dinner time that she spoke up with a pitiful tone. The kindergarten is organizing a parent-child event, and several activities require Dad's participation. But Dad, I sighed and then said, it's okay, Mom can do it too. Yuanyuan shook her head, still not very happy. She lowered her head to look at the rice in her bowl, lost in thought, when suddenly the doorbell rang. No need to guess. It was obviously someone coming to mooch a meal. The previously dejected daughter suddenly raised her head. Uncle Ji is here. After speaking, she immediately climbed down from the chair and went to open the door for Ji Yanli. Yuanyuan is even more adorable today. Ji Yanli carried Yuanyuan to the dining table. The two of them so familiar they resembled real father and daughter. I felt a pang of jealousy, staring resentfully at Ji Yanli. I went through life and death to bring this precious daughter into the world, yet she's so close to you, closer than to me. It's as if I had her for you. Ji Yanli's smile grew even brighter as he readily followed my lead, saying, that could work too. Consider her as born for me. I promise to raise this precious daughter well. I quickly snatched the child back from his arms. Dream on. This is my precious daughter. Yuanyuan pinched my hand with a grown-up air and said, stop arguing. One is Dad, the other is Mom. Yuanyuan loves you both. Indeed, they had already acknowledged each other as godfather and goddaughter several days prior. The two of them began playing along. addressing each other as godfather and darling goddaughter. Yuan Yuan looked at Ji Yanli, blinked her eyes, and suddenly asked, "Mom, since he's already like a dad, can Uncle Ji be my dad and accompany me to the parent-child event?" I looked at Ji Yanli, who was also gazing at me as if seeking my opinion. I hesitated for a moment before shaking my head in refusal. This probably isn't a good idea, but all the other kids' dads will be there, only my dad, he hasn't even called me in so long. Why can't Uncle Ji be my dad, Mom? I don't want to be laughed at by the other kids for being the child nobody's dad likes. The more my daughter spoke, the more upset she became, even shedding golden tears that broke my heart. Ji Yanli also quickly chimed in, "Yuan Yuan is now my goddaughter. That bastard Fu Yu is enjoying himself abroad. Wouldn't it be better if I participated instead? Or do you want Yuan Yuan to be laughed at by the other kids?" Naturally, I didn't want that. So for Monday's parent-child event, Ji Yanli took on the role of the father and went with me to the kindergarten. The games were all very simple. There are challenges testing the coordination between father and daughter, as well as the between parents. For example, what is Mom's favorite color? Ji Yanli, purple. What is Mom's favorite fruit? Ji Yanli, apples. What does Mom hate the most? Ji Yanli, she hates being lied to the most. Ji Yanli answered several questions correctly in the shortest time, and I couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. The host, played by a kindergarten teacher, held the script in her hand, smiled at the children, built up the atmosphere, and then asked the mother one final question. "So, who is the person Dad loves the most?" Many parents answered with their child's name. I also wrote Yuan Yuan's name, since for this type of question, one can only write a child's name, but Ji Yanli's answer was, "You, me." For a moment I didn't react, and couldn't help pointing at myself. The host smiled and said, "It seems that Yuan Yuan's parents have a very good relationship. Among all the dads present, yours was the only different answer." For some reason, my heart suddenly started beating a little faster. Even after this segment ended, my heartbeat hadn't returned to normal. Ji Yanli held Yuan Yuan's hand and walked over to me, asking, "What's wrong? Is your heart bothering you again?" His voice was as gentle as ever, filled with genuine concern and inquiry in his eyes. I shook my head. "Ji Yanli, why isn't your answer Yuan Yuan?" Ji Yanli's smile faltered slightly before he replied, "As Yuan Yuan's father, of course I love Yuan Yuan's mother the most, so, loving you, I don't see any problem with this answer." There's a problem, a huge problem indeed. My heartbeat quickened even more. The next 2 months, I suspect Ji Yanli has completely treated my home as his own. Although when we were kids, our families were close, and we did spend a lot of time together, but now that we're all grown up, I'm even married with a child, we should maintain some boundaries. Ji Yanli remained unmoved and seriously retorted, "Aren't you already preparing for a divorce by mutual agreement? Or are you just playing hard to get, wanting to rekindle things? If that's the case, I'll really lose respect for you, Shani. If someone isn't right for you, you have to let them go." "No. I just genuinely thought we should avoid any appearance of impropriety." I never said I'd hesitate, but after saying that, Ji Yanli inexplicably got angry, carried Yuan Yuan to her room, and completely ignored me. It wasn't until dinner that I repeatedly assured him I absolutely wouldn't hesitate. He finally let out a long sigh of relief. Fortunately, it's not beyond saving yet. Listening to his words, I forced a hollow smile. "Ji Yanli, do I not deserve to save face?" Yuan Yuan sat between us, resting her chin on her little hands, watching us with a beaming smile, her eyes brimming with happiness. If time could just stop at this moment, I'd have this illusion that this seems to be the happiness I once longed for. Unfortunately, I still have to return to reality in the end. In the 3rd month, Fu Yu and Qingye finally ended their trip and chose to return home. Fu Yu, who had just returned to the country, finally remembered his pitiful daughter from his previous life. So the first thing he did upon returning was to come to the kindergarten gate, intending to pick up Yuan Yuan after school. I bumped into him right at the kindergarten entrance. Fu Yu was still holding a doll in his arms, the kind of toy Yuan Yuan disliked the most. When he saw me, his expression showed a hint of guilt and unease. "Shani, there was an urgent matter at the company. I had to go abroad in a hurry, so I forgot to tell you." I casually murmured in agreement. Clearly going abroad for a romantic getaway with his lover, yet insisting it was for work, not a single word of truth from his mouth, only making me despise him even more. But it doesn't matter, once he signs the divorce papers, he can do whatever he wants. Perhaps sensing my indifference, Or perhaps he was genuinely feeling guilty. He grew uncharacteristically flustered and tried to explain himself to me. I didn't want to listen and directly cut him off. It's time, Yuanyuan will be out soon. Only then did Fuyu close his mouth, holding the ugly doll in his arms as he waited to greet his daughter coming out of school. Yuanyuan was initially overjoyed, but the moment she saw Fuyu, the smile instantly vanished from her face, and her running little steps slowed to a cautious walk. Yuanyuan, look what daddy brought for you. Yuanyuan was always his own flesh and blood, connected by the same lifeblood. Family and lovers were different from the very beginning. He could treat me with indifference, but he couldn't face his daughter without feeling genuine remorse. Yuanyuan took one look at that ugly doll and immediately showed her disdain. In the past, even if Fuyu often gave her toys she didn't like, for the sake of that pitiful paternal love, Yuanyuan would still reluctantly accept them and say she liked them. But during this period, she spent all her time with Ji Yanli. Ji Yanli was never one to compromise himself, making his likes and dislikes exceptionally clear. He would never stoop to compromising himself just to please others, so, if he didn't like something, he would loudly say no. Nowadays, Yuanyuan no longer pretends to be delighted just to save Fuyu's face. Instead, she simply acts like she didn't see him and walks straight to my side. Mom, are you the only one picking me up from school today? There was a hint of expectation in her eyes. Ji Yanli had promised her yesterday that he would come pick her up from school with me today, but in the afternoon, the Ji family suddenly called, sounding like something major had happened. Ji Yanli rushed home in a hurry, only saying he'd return as soon as possible without specifying an exact time. I was just thinking about how to broach the subject with her when Fuyu walked over holding a doll again. Yuanyuan, why are you ignoring daddy? This is a doll daddy specially bought for you, do you like it? When Fuyu handed the doll over, a small receipt accidentally fell out. I glanced down and saw the purchase location on the receipt was at the airport. Clearly, Fuyu only remembered he had a daughter after returning to the country. Quite laughable. Yuanyuan is young and doesn't know many characters, unaware of what the airport purchase represents, but she's no fool. She can still tell the difference between genuine care and mere pretense. Yuanyuan looked at Fuyu in front of her, pursing her lips without speaking for a long time. I could tell she was somewhat angry and wanted to refuse, yet she was also concerned about Fuyu's feelings, making her very conflicted. I was just about to speak up and refuse on her behalf. Yuanyuan suddenly caught sight of something, her eyes lighting up for a brief moment, then she pushed away Fuyu, who was trying to hug her, and took 2 steps back. I stopped liking these kinds of dolls a long time ago. Also, lying is bad behavior. I saw on Mom's phone that you went out to have fun. It wasn't work at all. Lastly, I have a new dad now. If you don't like me and Mom, that's fine. I don't really need you either. After saying this, Yuanyuan grabbed my hand and ran off to the side. With just a turn, I saw Ji Yanli standing by the car, waving at Yuanyuan at that moment. Daddy. Yuanyuan trotted over and threw herself into Ji Yanli's arms, wrapping her arms around his neck and planting a loud kiss on his cheek. Before, although he was just a sworn godfather, most of the time, Yuanyuan would still only call him uncle, but given how she acted today, if she weren't so young, I'd genuinely suspect she was provoking Fuyu. Though looking at Fuyu's face, dark as the bottom of a pot, I have to admit, it felt pretty satisfying. Meanwhile, Ji Yanli, with his somewhat crude temperament, simply carried his daughter right up to him, his gaze openly challenging. My daughter hates this ugly doll the most. Stop sending it. It's embarrassing. 9. Shani, I think you owe me an explanation. Fuyu went to my new home. He stood in the living room holding a photo of me with Yuanyuan and Ji Yanli, his eyes filled with indignation. That photo was taken last weekend when we went out for a picnic together. Yuanyuan had wanted to go camping for a long time, but Fuyu always dismissed it as too childish, using work as an excuse to refuse each time. Yet this time, while traveling abroad with Qingye, he even took photos of them camping together. That day, I stared at the photos in a daze, not noticing that my daughter had suddenly woken up. She saw them, though she didn't say a word. Her eyes turned red and her pillow became wet. So when Ji Yanli learned about this, he immediately cancelled his work and took Yuanyuan camping. We all had a great time that day, with Yuanyuan's face beaming with smiles, a long-lost sense of fulfillment and joy. As my thoughts gradually returned to the present, I looked at Fuyu before me, now truly unable to stir even the slightest ripple in my heart. Fuyu, this is really quite pointless. In my past life, consumed by hysteria. I looked at my frenzied reflection in the mirror and found it utterly detestable. So in this lifetime, I don't want to make any fuss at all, nor do I want to argue with him. I don't want to leave behind a crazy impression. Let's just part on good terms. Fu Yu's eyes narrowed as he grabbed the photo frame and smashed it violently onto the ground. Shani, it's only been 3 months, and you're already entangled with another man while taking my daughter with you. Do you think I'm dead? The glass frame shattered instantly, and the daughter doing homework in the room burst into terrified sobs at the commotion. I quickly went into the room to carry her out, soothing her softly while covering her ears, then confronted Fu Yu. What's the difference between you and being dead? I stared at him coldly, no longer caring for a peaceful breakup, and directly tore off the last shred of pretense. Fu Yu, do you really think I know nothing? That I don't know where you've been these past 3 months? You missed our daughter's birthday, you missed the kindergarten parent-child event, you still weren't there when I was hospitalized, when we needed you the most, you were traveling abroad with another woman, then came back with some flimsy excuse, trying to fool me and Yuan, who exactly is treating whom like a fool. Fu Yu, how dare you even question me? Hearing this, Fu Yu, who had been quite confident just moments ago, suddenly became somewhat flustered. No, that's not it. I really do have something going on, and Qingye and I aren't in the kind of relationship you're thinking of. It's just that I don't know how to explain it. I just wanted to fulfill a dream of hers. He cut off all contact and indeed left no trace of suspicion, but Qingye's social media updates were posted in real time every day, flaunting their relationship with great fanfare, even though there were no photos of them together. He would deliberately capture those obvious telltale signs each time: the necklace that Fu Yu never takes off, the red mole on Fu Yu's neck, there's a long scar on Fu Yu's abdomen. There were too many, so many that Yuan knew at a glance that the man in the photo was her father. I'm such a disappointment. The moment I took the divorce papers out of the room, tears still fell, but what can be done about it? I absolutely won't jump into the same fire pit twice. So I directly slapped the divorce agreement in his face and said resolutely, Fu Yu, let's get divorced. 10. At first, Fu Yu shook his head without hesitation to refuse. Shani, what kind of joke are you making? Our marriage isn't just about the two of us, it involves 2 family businesses, and there's also Yuan. For the sake of our child, can't you stop being so selfish? These words felt strangely familiar. Suddenly I remembered my past life. When he told me to give up searching for our daughter, I refused, and he called me selfish, and when I didn't want him to look for Qingye, he still called me selfish. How ridiculous, whether for my own sake or for our daughters. I don't believe maintaining a marriage with a man who constantly cheats would be fair to anyone. At the very least, the fault lies with you, not me. It's Fu Yu, who proposed to me first. Yet his heart belongs to someone else. It's Fu Yu, whose biological daughter disappeared, yet he's still thinking about his white moonlight. It's still Fu Yu, even after rebirth. His first choice remains Qingye. I've already signed the divorce papers. Since he was at fault, the reasonable benefits I fought for don't make me greedy. After all, these are for my daughter. Fu Yu, if you have any dignity left, stop clinging. Divorce would be best for both of us. Fu Yu held the divorce papers, his eyes seemingly wounded, though I wished I'd misread them. He said, Shani, after all these years together, can you really just walk away with a divorce? I echoed his words, retorting, Fu Yu, after all these years together, was there ever a moment when your heart didn't belong to another woman? He fell silent. In the end, Fu Yu signed that document. Those photos in the social circle were irrefutable evidence, proof he couldn't possibly find an excuse to counter. Infidelity and betrayal were indisputable facts now. Continuing this entanglement won't leave either of us looking good. Fu Yu is a businessman, and he understands this principle too. After the divorce, I suddenly felt a sense of relief. When leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, I made sure to dress up nicely, planning to go celebrate, but before turning away, Fu Yu grabbed my wrist. Shani, no matter what, we've been husband and wife for 7 years, and Yuan. She will always be my most beloved daughter. If anything comes up in the future, you can always come to me. No need, she has me and that's enough. Before Fu Yu could finish speaking, Ji Yanli emerged from nowhere with Yuan in tow. He directly reached out and pulled me over. Losing my balance, I fell straight into Ji Yanli's arms. Yuan covered her eyes with her tiny hands but deliberately peeked through the gaps, her little mouth curling into a happy smile. As for Fu Yu, His eyes held an indescribable complexity and resentment. Ji Yanli, this is my family matter. What constitutes a family matter? Ji Yanli directly interrupted Fu Yu's words, unhesitatingly confronting him. Is it abandoning your wife and daughter domestically while traveling abroad with another woman, or being invisible when your wife and daughter need you? If this is what you call family matters, then sorry. As an outsider, I fucking despise this behavior of yours. With that, Ji Yanli threw a punch straight to his face. 11. Ji Yanli, are you crazy? Why did you hit him? While applying medicine to his wounds, I scolded him. The punch thrown at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau left Fu Yu stunned for just a moment before he swung back. Both had trained in boxing since childhood. Every strike landed with brutal precision. Holding my daughter, I simply couldn't intervene. I could only watch as the two of them came to blows, exchanging punches and slaps until both were covered in blood staining their clothes. When the staff at the Civil Affairs Bureau noticed, they quickly sent people to break up the fight, only to get accidentally injured themselves. In the end, both were hauled off to the police station. With no other choice, I had to quickly bail Ji Yanli out. As for Fu Yu, since we're already divorced, everything related to him from now on has nothing to do with me, naturally. Things like bail don't require my involvement. I just couldn't stand by and watch him bully you. Ji Yanli's face was bruised, with a heavy black eye from being punched in the corner of his eye. There were also bruises at the corner of his mouth, and his cheek was scraped. In short, he looked quite a mess, but Fu Yu had it worse, covered in blood. Even if you can't stand it, there's no need to resort to violence. You still care about him. Ji Yanli's eyes dimmed momentarily. As I applied medicine to his wounds, I suddenly pressed harder. He yelped in pain before I spoke. I just think it's not worth dirtying your hands for someone like him. Ji Yanli resumed his previous smile and gently shook his head. No, for you, I think it's worth it. With a plop sound, the cotton swab in my hand fell to the ground. Just like before, my heart inexplicably started racing. These words sounded somewhat, I couldn't tell if it was just my imagination, so I didn't respond further, just kept my head down while wiping the wounds on his face. The air suddenly fell silent. It felt somewhat eerie. In the end, it was Ji Yanli who lost his composure first, grabbing my hand and forcing me to meet his gaze. His eyes filled with seriousness. He asked, Shani, you do understand what I mean, don't you? Do you understand? Maybe just a little bit, but, Ji Yanli, I was married, then divorced. It took me nearly 10 years to prove I was blind and loved the wrong person. I also have a daughter. She's the most important person in my life. I will never be separated from her, nor will I let her suffer any grievances. So, do you understand what I mean? The world isn't always fair. A divorced woman with a child standing next to a successful, handsome man, everyone would say they're mismatched, and I would never let my daughter suffer any grievances. I thought my words would make Ji Yanli back off, but instead he became even more serious. So what if you've been married before? It was Fu Yu who was blind, who cheated and wronged you. You never did anything to betray him. And Yuan, she's adorable. She calls me daddy. She's your daughter, and she'll also be the daughter I cherish most. No one will ever make her suffer in front of me, I promise. So, do you understand what I'm trying to say? 12. Whether I understood or not, I'm not sure. All I know is that in the end, I fled in panic, and the matter was left unresolved. Ji Yanli's words came too suddenly. I had absolutely no mental preparation, so of course I couldn't give an immediate answer. He was well aware of it, so he didn't come looking for me again in the following week. It gave me time to think. As for Fu Yu, after divorcing me, he officially announced his relationship with Qingye. The two openly flaunted their affection on social media. Qingye, who had previously only pretended to unintentionally post those photos, now went all out by directly sending me various pictures privately, along with all sorts of warnings. Fu Yu is now my boyfriend. Even if you have a daughter together, please know your boundaries and don't be a homewrecker. How ridiculous, I directly replied. So you do know being a homewrecker is a shameless thing. Furious with me, she chose to block me directly. That's actually for the best. In short, for the next few months, I didn't deliberately pay attention to Fu Yu's situation, just focused on living my own life. Friends around me would occasionally mention them when we met. At first, they were indignant on my behalf, saying they were deliberately flaunting their relationship just to show off in front of me. Later, they said the couple started arguing over all sorts of trivial matters, quarreling incessantly, but none of this mattered to me anymore, because my heart is in turmoil right now. I still can't bring myself to respond. Ji Yanli also had to go abroad for a business trip due to urgent matters at the overseas branch, and he'll be gone for several months. Though I suspect he might be deliberately avoiding me. Because of this, Yuanyuan couldn't eat or sleep properly for a while. Every day after kindergarten, she'd call Ji Yanli to tell him all the fun things that happened, and he would always listen attentively without ever brushing her off. Just like that, another 3 months passed. Ji Yanli returned to the country, bringing a whole suitcase of toys, all of which were Yuanyuan's favorites. The moment he saw me, without even half a word of small talk, he got straight to the point. "Shani, I gave you 3 months to think it over. Can you give me your answer now?" I kept my head down, unable to respond for a long time, because I truly didn't know how to respond to Ji Yanli's feelings. After all, I had just emerged from a failed marriage, and I didn't know whether what awaited me next would be sunshine after the rain or another abyss. I'm afraid. I'm really afraid. 13, but I didn't hesitate for too long. I took Yuanyuan to the mall to buy clothes, and she took out her New Year's money, saying she wanted to pick a gift for Ji Yanli, clinging to Ji Yanli, refusing to let go no matter what. In the end, the 3 of us had to go shopping at the mall together. As luck would have it, I happened to see Fuyu in the mall, with Qingye by his side. The two were in a children's clothing store, with Fuyu holding a beautiful little dress that looked like it was meant for Yuanyuan. Qingye's face looked very unpleasant. She snatched the dress from Fuyu's hands and threw it violently to the ground. Even though they were several shops away, I could still clearly hear their conversation. "Fuyu, get this straight, you and Shani are already divorced. The child is with her too. There's no need for you to buy clothes for Fuyuan every time we go shopping together." Qingye was furious, her beautiful face contorted with anger. The once inseparable couple now fights with such ferocity, and Fuyu, contrary to my expectations, showed no signs of concession or restraint. The deep affection I once saw in his eyes was fading bit by bit, replaced by impatience as he retorted, "So what if we're divorced? Yuanyuan will always be my daughter. If it weren't for being with you, how could Yuanyuan have ended up without a father? Now, when I buy her some clothes, it's just my way of making it up to her. Don't be so selfish." "Selfish, me?" Qingye pointed at herself and suddenly burst into laughter. "Fuyu, who's really the selfish one here? I was ready to give up on you, but you rushed overseas without a care, pouring out your heart about how I'm the woman you love most in this life. That's what moved me, even if it meant being labeled a homewrecker. I chose to be with you. Now that you're finally divorced, you're suddenly hung up on Shani and Yuanyuan, sneaking looks at their photos every night behind my back. What do you take me for?" Her voice was far too loud. It wasn't just me, others in the mall couldn't help but glance over, their eyes alight with gossip. Fuyu had always been one to care about appearances. Seeing the gathered stares, she didn't even care about buying the dress anymore, immediately grabbing Qingye's hand to leave, but Qingye wouldn't have it, forcefully shaking off his grip and forcing him to make a choice. "Fuyu, today I demand you make it clear to me. Do you want to live properly with me, or do you want to remarry your ex-wife? To give your precious daughter a complete family? Make it clear, make it clear." "How exactly do you want me to make it clear? I've said it 10,000 times. Shani and I are already divorced, but Yuanyuan is still my flesh and blood after all. I can't just abandon her. Why must you put me in such a difficult position? You used to be so understanding, but now you're so selfish, forcing poor little Yuanyuan to lose even the last shred of familial affection." The finale of this farce was Qingye slapping him hard in front of everyone. Fuyu's face turned ashen as he turned to leave, only to lock eyes with me in that instant. 14. No words were exchanged. Perhaps he himself felt ashamed. Our gazes met briefly before he turned away decisively. Without the slightest hesitation, Ji Yanli took Yuanyuan and me to that children's clothing store, where we picked out over a dozen dresses, all of which she adored. "I'll buy all these for you later. We don't need his." Ji Yanli reached out and gently pinched Yuanyuan's cheek, making sure there was no trace of resistance in her eyes before waving his hand grandly to buy even more dresses. When I got home, I immediately spotted Fuyu sitting in the hallway, clearly having drunk alcohol. The slap mark on his face was still quite visible. Yuanyuan had fallen asleep in my arms. I didn't let Ji Yanli see me home as he had work tomorrow and needed to rest early. I opened the door and placed Yuanyuan in his little bed. Fuyu stood at the doorway, reeking of alcohol, his eyes fixed on me with an inexplicable look of grievance. "What do you want?" My voice was icy, and the grievance in his eyes grew even more pronounced. in the past, whenever I came home drunk from social engagements, you'd personally prepare ginger tea for me. You've never spoken to me in such a cold tone before." He spoke, sounding both sad and aggrieved. "But the truth has proven that you only ever trampled on my kindness toward you, haven't you?" Perhaps my voice was too cold. Cold enough to slightly sober his lust-clouded mind. I tried to close the door, but he pressed his hand against the frame, his eyes showing a hint of confusion. "Shani, if I hadn't agreed to the divorce back then, would we still be like before, a happy family? There are no ifs in this world. If you remain who you are, there will never be a different outcome, just like a dog can never stop eating shit. Fuyu could never suppress that restless heart of his. What you can't have always stirs desire. That's why in his past life he could search for Chinya for 50 years, and in this life, because of my resolute divorce, he revealed his regret. But either way, it only makes me feel disgusted. His heart is not good. Wanting everything will only lead to gaining nothing." 15. That night, Yuanyuan inexplicably developed a high fever, her entire body burning hot. She even started having convulsions. I quickly picked her up, intending to drive to the hospital. But at the entrance of the neighborhood, I saw Ji Yanli sitting by the flower bed, lost in thought. He noticed me too, along with the unconscious Yuanyuan. I was so nervous that my hands were shaking uncontrollably, making it impossible to drive properly. "It's okay, it's normal for children to have fevers. I'll take her to the hospital right now. Don't be nervous, and don't cry. Yuanyuan will definitely be fine." Ji Yanli comforted me while quickly driving to the hospital. Fortunately, Yuanyuan's health is fine. It was just a severe viral infection that requires careful attention afterward. After hearing the doctor's explanation, I finally let out a long sigh of relief. Throughout the night, Ji Yanli was busy taking care of everything. He soothed Yuanyuan to sleep, then had me rest on the adjacent hospital bed while he watched over the child all night. We had agreed to take shifts, but by the time I woke up, it was already broad daylight. Dark circles hung heavily under his eyes as he covered a yawn. Seeing me awake, he lowered his voice and said, "Why not sleep a little longer? I'll go buy breakfast. What would you like?" Ji Yanli's voice when he spoke was truly gentle, so gentle that, in a moment of impulse, I blurted out, "Ji Yanli, let's give it a try. If this is still an abyss, I can only say that I'm destined to be unworthy of any happiness." 16. After confirming their relationship, Ji Yanli immediately started showing off like a peacock spreading its tail, insisting on posting it on social media to declare his claim. He even directly moved his belongings over. Fortunately, the apartment Yuanyuan chose was spacious enough with many empty rooms, so he could pick any one to stay in. The first day Ji Yanli moved in, Yuanyuan was so excited that she immediately took out her phone and said she wanted to take a family photo. 5 minutes after the photo was sent out, an unknown number called directly, but at that time I was taking a shower in the bathroom. My phone was left in the living room, and it was Ji Yanli who answered. I could faintly hear the sound of him speaking. "Looking for she's taking a shower and is too tired. Please call back tomorrow. She is indeed exhausted. Yuanyuan is full of energy and kept me playing all day. My bones are about to fall apart." After the shower, Ji Yanli handed me the phone with a sour expression. "It's from him." "Oh. Fuyu, then there's no need to call back." I simply tossed the phone onto the sofa and turned to go back to my room to dry my hair. Half an hour later, the takeout I ordered arrived at the door. Just stepping out to grab takeout when someone grabs my wrist. "Shani, are you with Ji Yanli now?" Fuyu's first words were an accusation. I forcefully shake off his hand. "Who I'm with is none of your business," yet he frowns. His eyes filled with confusion. "We haven't even been divorced for half a year. How could you be with someone else already? Back then you clearly loved me so much, swore you'd marry no one but me. We even had Yuanyuan together. You said we'd be together forever. Did you ever truly love me at all?" "Fuyu," I couldn't help but growl through clenched teeth. "I've always known how selfish you are, but I never imagined your ability to distort the truth could be this strong. You were the one who cheated first, and now you're trying to pin the blame on me." "Yes. I'm with Ji Yanli now. We're open and honest about it, with nothing to hide." Fuyu persisted relentlessly. "You've been with me for 10 years, and we even have a child together. How could he possibly not mind? How could he genuinely treat Yuanyuan well?" Unable to hold back, I reached out and slapped him across the face. "Don't think that just because you're filthy, the whole world is as dirty as you are. Ji Yanli is different from you. He truly loves me, and that's why he's willing to love what I love." Ji Yanli once said, "Shani, Yuanyuan is your daughter, I love you, and I will love what you love. Fu Yu fell silent, leaning against the wall with slightly slumped shoulders. It took him a long while before he finally spoke, his voice so soft I could barely make out his words. If I were to regret this, would you give me another chance? I replied. Don't humiliate yourself. 17. A month later, I heard the happy news of Fu Yu and Qingye's engagement. After all, it's been over half a year since our divorce. The Fu family wants a new daughter-in-law and even more so, a grandchild. The night before they registered their marriage, Fu Yu sent me a long message. I didn't read it carefully, but the gist was that he missed the life we had together, with our well-behaved and understanding daughter. If I was willing, he would remarry me and we could take care of Yuanyuan together. I didn't reply, feeling it wasn't necessary. They got married and divorced in less than a month. Qingye was always a sensitive person, prone to magnifying trivial matters into overwhelming emotions, let alone Fu Yu, now overwhelmed with guilt, constantly seeking opportunities to see Yuanyuan. Arguments between them became inevitable. The more loving they were before, the fiercer their fights became now. But none of this has anything to do with me. I'm going to marry Ji Yanli. But on the wedding day, Qingye rushed in wearing a white dress, barged into the dressing room without hesitation, and tried to hit me. Ji Yanli immediately shielded me, preventing her from succeeding. Shani, how can you be so shameless? You've already divorced Fu Yu, yet you keep pestering him all day, making him think about that little bastard. If it weren't for you two, we wouldn't have ended up divorced. She's really mastered the art of turning the tables, a skill she undoubtedly learned from Fu Yu. During the existence of my marriage with Fu Yu, you shamelessly played the role of the other woman. After our divorce, we had almost no contact. The fact that your relationship is unstable, with constant arguments, only proves the fragility of your bond. Qingye, what makes you any better? Coming here to make a scene simply shows you can't bear to see me happy. Because you're miserable and ugly inside, you want the whole world to share in your misfortune. But why should they? You're the one who violated moral principles. You deserve to be punished. The more you act out now, the more everyone will see you as getting exactly what you deserve. I fired back at her fiercely, and she was so angry she tried to hit me again. But Ji Yanli consistently shielded me. She couldn't lay a finger on me. Upon hearing the news, Fu Yu hurried over as well. Grabbing Qingye, his impatience surfaced in his eyes. What exactly are you making a scene about? If it weren't for your constant paranoia, we wouldn't have reached this point. And now you come looking for Shani. What right do you have to seek her out? You chose to be the other woman. Don't forget that. That's some harsh scolding. Fu Yu has always been this cold and heartless. Thankfully, I managed to extricate myself in time this lifetime. Otherwise, it would be truly tragic. With that, Fu Yu turned to look at me. By then I had already changed into my wedding dress, becoming a beautiful bride. His eyes flickered with an unreadable emotion, as if lost in thought. Pressing his lips together with a hint of sorrow, he asked, Shani, are you really sure about this? I didn't answer, but the happy smile on my face had already answered for me. He continued, if I were to elope with you right now, would you be willing to leave with me? Ji Yanli's face turned ashen. His fists clenched tightly. If I hadn't stopped him, he would have already punched Fu Yu in the face. I stepped closer and whispered just between us, in our past life, you made me feel utterly disgusted. Now that we've both been reborn in this lifetime, let's not cross paths again. Fu Yu, are you really willing to throw away the last shred of your dignity? He froze, his eyes widening in shock. I ignored him further. The auspicious hour was approaching, and I needed to get to the wedding venue. Thus, I didn't know that after hearing my words, Ji Yanli became utterly distraught and walked out of the hotel as if he'd lost his soul. However, Qingye hadn't left. Instead, she unleashed her pent-up grievances, throwing punch after punch at him. The two of them tangled together, fighting and scuffling. By the roadside, someone lost their footing and both tumbled down the steps. An off-road vehicle sped past. However, I don't know any of this yet. Now I'm feeling a bit nervous. The gate opened, and I saw Ji Yanli standing at the end of the long corridor, smiling at me. My daughter was dressed as a little flower girl, holding my hand. She led me step by step toward Ji Yanli, toward true happiness. Fu Yuanyuan side story. What if I told you I was reborn, just like in those TV dramas? Wouldn't that be a shocking thing to hear? That high fever made me remember many things. Though I was 5 years old, I carried memories of being 16. As for why it was 16, because in my past life, I only lived that long. Looking back now, that damned human trafficker sold me to a childless couple. Within a year they conceived their own child, then discarded me for not being their biological offspring. I don't remember the specific details clearly. Anyway, I was sold again, sold repeatedly several times, whether it was deliberately breaking my arms and legs to make me beg on the streets, yet he watched coldly, as if looking at a clown. I feel really terrible. I remember where home is. Remember my parents' names, remember past happiness and warmth. I clearly remember everything, but there's no way out. Someone is watching day and night, and I can't find the slightest chance to escape. But heaven had given me one chance before. Just before being sold for the last time, I saw my father on the street. At that time, my father's face was full of exhaustion. I thought it was because of my disappearance that he had grown so haggard. He passed right by me. I shouted desperately. But he didn't recognize me. Not only did he not recognize me, but he also kicked me, saying I dirted his pants. He said, "This is a gift from Chinya to me, you little beggar. Don't you dare touch me." Who is Chinya? I don't know. I just saw the missing person notice in Dad's hand. The photo and name on it weren't mine, and the person he was looking for wasn't me either. My tongue had been cut out, leaving me unable to speak. My muffled cries only earned his disgust, and the trafficker's fury. This time, my luck ran out completely. I was sold into the deep mountains as an old man's bride, 16 years old, an age as beautiful as flowers, yet she died from postpartum hemorrhage during childbirth. It hurt so much, so when I realized I had been reborn, I was truly overjoyed, yet also quite sorrowful. I know Mom never gave up on me. I also know Dad's heart belongs to another woman, but Uncle G's appearance made me feel happiness isn't so far away after all. Dad wasn't a good father, but Uncle G can give Mom the happiness she wants, and he can become my dad too. Suddenly I feel like I'm actually quite lucky. At least in this lifetime, I can still have a complete and happy family, me, Mom, and Dad, Ji Yanli. We will all be very happy. Story 2. On our third wedding anniversary, Chu Yan brought home the younger sister of his deceased brother to take care of. I didn't agree. Does your so-called care necessarily mean that she has to live in our house? Chu Yan said I was heartless. Despite my objection, he left Chen Nanyue behind. I couldn't bear it. I quarreled with him again and fell into Chen Nanyue's trap. It wasn't until Chen Nanyue and I were kidnapped at the same time, and Chu Yan only saved her, that I realized that Chu Yan, who had once said he only loved me, had already changed his heart. After being reborn, I no longer longed for Chu Yan's love. When he brought Chen Nanyue home, I smiled and said, "Sure." 1. I waited in the restaurant until 10 o'clock. When the waiter reminded me that the restaurant was about to close, I received a message on my phone. It was from Chu Yan. "Yu, I'm waiting for you at home." The moment I saw the message, my fingers curled up suddenly, then they kept trembling, my eyes turned red. I was reborn. On the night of my third wedding anniversary with Chu Yan, to celebrate, Chu Yan booked the entire restaurant and decorated it carefully. I attended in full dress, but Chu Yan didn't come. His good brother Chen Rui had a sudden accident and passed away. Before he died, he asked Chu Yan to take good care of his younger sister, Chen Nanyue. Chu Yan took it very seriously. He brought Chen Nanyue home that night. Even the explanation was exactly the same as in my previous life. Nanyue has no family left. I can't just ignore her. How did I respond to Chu Yan in my previous life? I opposed and accused him hysterically. Does your so-called care necessarily mean that she has to live in our house? We are husband and wife. Why don't you respect my thoughts? In response to me, there were only Chen Nanyue's aggrieved tears and Chu Yan's cold rebuke. "Qing Yu, you're really heartless." Despite my objection, he let Chen Nanyue stay in the house. Later, because of Chen Nanyue, Chu Yan and I had countless quarrels and misunderstandings. I tried every means to bring back the Chu Yan who loved me, but compared with the delicate and pitiful Chen Nanyue, my accusations and grievances all turned into vexatious behavior in Chu Yan's eyes. Chen Nanyue threw away the kitten that I had raised for 2 years, and Chu Yan couldn't bear to scold her even once. When Chen Nanyue and I were kidnapped together, Chu Yan didn't hesitate to abandon me and save her. So in this life, when facing the serious-looking Chu Yan and Chen Nanyue, who was hiding behind him and crying aggrievedly, I just smiled slightly. "Sure, since you've decided, let her stay." Chu Yan's pupils shrank, and he was skeptical. "Yu, do you really agree?" I turned my head and smiled. "She's the younger sister of your good brother. It's right for you to take care of her. I'm your wife. I believe you have a sense of propriety." So why should I refuse? Chu Yan opened his mouth but didn't say anything. I instructed the housekeeper to clean up the guest room on the first floor for Chen Nanue. In my previous life, after having a big quarrel with me, Chu Yan deliberately went against me and let Chen Nanue live on the second floor. Since opposition is ineffective, then I'll take the initiative. Chu Yan feels guilty towards me and won't refute me at this time. 2. That night, I didn't let Chu Yan sleep with me. He thought I was throwing a tantrum and said some harsh words. Only after hearing my coughing did he remember the fact that I had sat alone in the cold wind of the open-air restaurant for a whole night. Then, feeling guilty, he instructed the housekeeper to prepare cold medicine for me. He promised repeatedly that he wouldn't stand me up again in the future. I responded listlessly with an hum. Chu Yan's movements were stiff, but he didn't say anything more. After tucking the quilt in for me, he tiptoed to the guest room next door. Finally, there was peace. I turned over. The next second, I hugged Xiaoguai and fell asleep. It wasn't because of the cold, it was because before I died in my previous life, I was tied up in a cold factory building for a full 2 days. I didn't dare to sleep or cry. My nerves had been tense for too long, and I couldn't take it anymore, so I slept especially soundly this time. I didn't wake up until almost noon the next day. Chen Nanue was sitting on the sofa in the living room packing her luggage. When she heard me coming downstairs, she just looked up at me, but she didn't take the initiative to greet me. Instead, she continued to pack her clothes methodically and even instructed the housekeeper to make her a cup of coffee. She acted like the mistress of the house. In my previous life, when faced with her provocation, I was like a balloon that would explode at the slightest touch and quarreled with her. During the argument, she deliberately fell to the ground, and Chu Yan, who happened to come home to get some documents, saw it. He asked me to apologize without asking the cause and effect. Naturally, I refused. As a result, Chu Yan ignored me for half a month. Now, facing her rather clumsy little trick, I was no longer angry. I ignored her and walked into the dining room. Without my instruction, the housekeeper took the initiative to bring breakfast. It was obvious who the mistress of the house was. Chen Nanue blushed with anger. She threw her luggage around, making cracking noises. The housekeeper frowned. He had just taken a step in that direction when I stopped him with a glance. Amid Chen Nanue's protesting voice, I happily finished the first warm meal after being reborn. Xiaoguai stretched and moved to my feet, meowing. I picked it up and held it in my arms, looking at the warm autumn sunlight. It was really comfortable. 3. Chu Yan should have instructed the housekeeper a long time ago. So as soon as I finished my breakfast, the housekeeper opened the door and let the staff in. She finally managed to pack up the things that Chen Nanue had left in the living room and send them back to her room as she wished. Then she instructed the staff to place Chu Yan's gifts one by one in the living room. Top luxury jewelry, high-end customized dresses, limited edition handbags, the latest sports cars. There were a dazzling array of things. All anniversary gifts that Chu Yan had given me out of guilt. I didn't feel much about it, but Chen Nanue was jealous. Sister Qingyu, you're really lucky to be able to marry Brother Yan. You can enjoy a luxurious life without having to do anything. I was silent for a moment and corrected her expressionlessly. No, you should envy my good birth. After all, this is how I lived before I married Chu Yan. Chen Nanue's eyes turned red instantly. She was an illegitimate daughter of the Chen family. When she was brought back to the Chen family had already gone bankrupt. She didn't enjoy any of the glory and wealth at all, so what she cared most about was her own background. But my brother told me that girls must be independent and have their own careers. I've always remembered my brother's words and never dared to slack off for a moment. Chen Nanue finally couldn't help it and showed her weak and scheming demeanor. She wanted to provoke me, but I just lifted my eyelids and glanced at her faintly, then nodded. That's good, then you should work harder. Seeing that I was indifferent, Chen Nanue was furious. When she got up, she deliberately stepped on Xiaoguai's tail. It was so scared that it jumped up suddenly and knocked over the gift box that I had just opened. A clear sound rang out. I lowered my eyes. I saw the ruby jade pendant that had broken into 2 pieces on the floor. 4. When she saw the broken jade, Chen Nanue immediately became nervous. I didn't mean to. Halfway through her words, when she caught sight of the figure entering the living room, Chen Nanue suddenly fell onto the sofa. Ouch, this scene. As seen by Chu Yan, who had just entered the door, seemed as if I had deliberately pushed her down. He immediately ran over to help her up and sternly questioned me. What did you do? Before the words were even out, He saw the broken jade on the floor and suddenly changed his expression. How did this happen? Seeing that he was in a bad mood, Chen Nanue began to pretend to be aggrieved and, it wasn't me. Shabwai just jumped up and broke it. Sister Qingyu misunderstood me just now. Her eyes were wet, she seemed aggrieved, but in fact, there was all sorts of calculation in them. Why don't I compensate Sister Qingyu with a piece of jade? My brother left me some money, and I should be able to afford it, but Chen Nanue didn't know that this Rui jade pendant wasn't bought, it was carved by Chu Yan himself. In the first year of our marriage, Chu Yan had a car accident by accident. He stayed in the ICU for a whole week, after all medical means were used. The expert said that he could only wake up relying on his own will. I, who had never believed in fate, went alone to the temple to ask for a safety amulet for him. The 700 steps in the snowy weather almost made me lose feeling in my hands and feet. Fortunately, Chu Yan woke up the night he put on the safety amulet, but I fell seriously ill from then on. I developed a root cause of being afraid of the cold. Chu Yan felt extremely sorry. Later, he heard that carving a Rui jade pendant by hand could ensure safety, so he found a piece of jade and began to carve it carefully. But in my previous life, after Chen Nanue was scared into a coma by a flasher at school, to soothe her, Chu Yan gave her that jade pendant full of vows. Later, he always stood behind Chen Nanue and protected her. I, who had lost his love and protection, eventually ended up alone and was buried in the wilderness, unexpectedly, after being reborn. Chu Yan actually gave me the Rui jade pendant in advance out of guilt. Unfortunately, it broke before I could even touch it. It was as if it was destined by heaven. Chu Yan and I could only stand at both ends of the balance, we couldn't be together. 5. Amid Chen Nanue's continuous explanations, Chu Yan silently picked up the broken jade. After looking at it in the palm of his hand for a while, he instructed Chen Nanue to go back to her room first. I knew that he didn't intend to pursue the matter. Forget it, if it's broken, I'll carve another one for you. I'll use a piece of jade with a better texture than this one. Okay. His overly indifferent tone made me show an incredulous expression. Chu Yan, this was carved by you for me. It was Chen Nanue who broke it. How can you say something like, if it's broken, it's broken? He frowned slightly and said helplessly, Yu. She just lost her family member and lacks a sense of security. Can't you be more understanding? Then who will understand me? My chest heaved violently, my breathing became uncontrollably rapid. Chu Yan, you said that you carved the jade pendant for me to ensure my safety. I've been waiting for 2 years. How much longer do you want me to wait? Chen Nanue was brought back by you. You believe everything she says, and you feel sorry for her even if she gets a little hurt, but she's just your brother's sister. I'm your wife. Why do you always wrong me and forgive her? What did I do wrong that deserves you treating me like this? Chu Yan, the jade is broken. It can't protect me anymore. Can I still believe in you and rely on you? After the words fell, my eyes were already filled with tears. An expression of endless regret flashed across Chu Yan's face. He hugged me tightly and coaxed me in a low voice. Of course you can believe in me. I'll always protect you. You know how much I love you. In Chu Yan's arms, I gradually opened my eyes. My breathing calmed down, and my tears had dried up. I met Chen Nanue's vicious and jealous gaze in the distance. I curled my lips slightly. Chu Yan used to love me, but after Chen Nanue appeared, that love gradually changed. In the past, I always couldn't figure out why Chu Yan would change his heart. Now I don't want to pursue it anymore. A man who has changed his heart, even if it's just a little bit, will be like a rotten apple inside. In the end, he will be extremely ugly. I will abandon Chu Yan when he loves me the most and feels the most guilty towards me. Everything that Chen Nanue has tried so hard to get will be destroyed by me. Neither the scumbag nor the mistress deserves to be forgiven. 6. Out of guilt, Chu Yan has been treating me very well recently. He has shown meticulous care and protection, as if we were back in the period of our passionate love. But this kind of intimacy will automatically give way when Chen Nanue appears. At lunch, Chen Nanue held a few grains of rice and hesitated to speak. I pretended not to see it, but Chu Yan couldn't help but feel sorry for her. What's wrong? Chen Nanue was like a little rabbit. After taking a look at me, she retracted her neck and shook her head vigorously. It's nothing. As if I had bullied her. Chu Yan looked unhappy. Just say it if you have something to say. You don't have to worry about it. Only then did Chen Nanue put down her chopsticks and look at Chu Yan expectantly. Brother Yan, I'm going to participate in a competition next month, So I brought the easel back and will practice painting hard every day, but the room on the first floor is too cold. My hands are so frozen that I can't hold the paintbrush properly. My hand that was picking up food froze. It turned out that no matter what I did, important things would still happen. The room where Chin Nanyue was on the first floor faced north. It was indeed not as warm as the second floor in autumn and winter, but there were only 3 rooms on the second floor, the master bedroom, the study, and the lounge exclusive to me. I'm afraid of the cold. Chu Yan specially left that room for me. Inside, there was a customized sofa for me, a large screen, Xiaoguai's cat climbing frame, a toy box, and a jewelry display cabinet covering the whole wall. If Chin Nanyue lived on the second floor, I would have to make room. I didn't respond. Chu Yan hesitated for a long time. I'll ask the housekeeper to add a heater for you. I've tried both the heater and the air conditioner. They will make the room too dry, and the paint will dry up. Seeing that Chu Yan was still hesitating, Chin Nanyue lowered her head again. Brother Yan, I'd better move back to the dormitory. The art studio at school is big and has a constant temperature system. I don't want to trouble you and Sister Qingyu. These words completely reminded Chu Yan of his promise to his deceased brother. He put down his chopsticks, sat up straight, and looked at me. Yu, give up the lounge. After this winter passes, I'll have someone lay floor heating in Nanyue's room and then let her move back. I was a bit dazed, but Chu Yan, I'm also afraid of the cold. Chu Yan frowned and looked somewhat impatient. It's just for one winter, you can endure it. When you're cold, you can go to the greenhouse on the 3rd floor or bask in the sun on the balcony of the bedroom. Chen Rui said that Nanyue was bullied at school, and I can't let her go back to school, although I had already guessed that he would do this, but when it actually happened, I still felt disgusted and uncomfortable. Chu Yan already had Chen Nanyue in his heart and eyes. He didn't care at all that I would also be cold and get sick. I took a deep breath and tried my best to soften my voice. Okay. Then move. 7. Chen Nanyue doesn't like small animals. In my previous life, not long after she moved into the 2nd floor, she deliberately opened the window and let Xiaoguai go. She pretended not to know about it all day long. It wasn't until I got home at night and couldn't find Xiaoguai that I checked the surveillance and found that it had entered Chen Nanyue's room and never came out again. Only after I questioned her repeatedly did Chen Nanyue cry and say sorry. I just accidentally didn't close the window. I didn't expect it to get lost. I didn't have time to pay attention to Chen Nanyue and immediately went out to look for the cat. Chu Yan accompanied me to look for it all night. It wasn't until early the next morning that we found its cold body on the road next to the villa area. After returning to the villa, I beat and scolded Chen Nanyue like crazy. She hid behind Chu Yan, crying pitifully. Chu Yan started to protect her. Later, he pushed me away impatiently. Enough, the cat is already dead. It's no use beating and scolding her anymore. I looked at Chu Yan in disbelief. I couldn't understand how he could say such cold words when he had raised Xiaoguai with me for 2 years, but he didn't blame Chen Nanyue at all. Only now did I realize that since he didn't even care about me, how could he care about a cat? I didn't dare to take the risk. So that afternoon, I sent Xiaoguai to Qingfan's house. Qingfan is my parents' adopted son. Now he is the person in charge of the Qing Corporation. When I showed up carrying 2 big bags of pet supplies, he looked worried. Did you two have a fight? Even if you had a fight, it shouldn't be you who runs away from home, right? I sighed. We didn't have a fight, but I'm going to get a divorce. 8. Did Chu Yan hit you? Qingfan suddenly raised his voice, scaring Xiaoguai, which had just poked its head out, back into the carrier. No, brother. While soothing Xiaoguai, I briefly told him the key points about Chen Nanyue. I was definitely going to get a divorce. It's just that there are many interests involved between the Qing and Chu companies, and getting a divorce is not an easy thing. Since I was reborn, I have been preparing the procedures and documents for the divorce, trying my best to minimize the losses to the Qing Corporation. I came to see Qingfan today to ask him to be prepared in advance. After listening to me, Qingfan's face turned cold. You don't have to wrong yourself for the company. I'll back you up. Get a divorce, and do it as soon as possible. Looking at Qingfan's cold and stern side profile, I felt a complex mix of emotions in my heart. Suddenly, I hugged his arm. Thank you, brother. Qingfan stiffened for a moment, and then he smiled and patted my head. There's no need to thank me. Leaning against Qingfan's shoulder, I wiped away my tears when he couldn't see. In my previous life, after I was kidnapped, Chu Yan refused to save me. Nanyue only has me. You still have Qingfan, and he will save you, but Ching Fan had a car accident on the way to save me. I watched helplessly as his car fell off a cliff, and his life or death was unknown. At that moment, my remaining will to live was shattered. Even when the dagger pierced my chest, I didn't feel any pain, since God has given me a chance to start over. I will never let the old things happen again. I not only want to save myself, I also want to save Ching Fan. 9. A month later, Chen Nanyue's painting won an award. She gave the painting to Chu Yan. She also asked him to hang it in the study so that he could see her achievement every day. Chu Yan looked at her with doting eyes and readily agreed. A week later, when Chen Nanyue came back with the painting, I was just about to go out. When we passed each other on the stairs, she suddenly spoke. You clearly see that Brother Yan doesn't like you anymore. Why don't you leave him? Chen Nanyue in front of me had a vicious look in her eyes. Where was the innocent and lively appearance of a girl? I didn't show much emotion and looked straight into her eyes. Since you like Chu Yan, why don't you dare to confess your love? Are you afraid that others will scold you for being a mistress? The one who is not loved is the mistress. Chen Nanyue rolled her eyes recklessly and provocatively glanced at my belly. You can't have children anymore. Brother Yan won't be with you for the rest of his life. You'd better leave voluntarily and don't be so oblivious and annoying. My eyes darkened. I did leave a root cause of illness when I went to ask for a safety amulet for Chu Yan that winter. The doctor said that my body had been affected by the cold and needed to be well nourished, otherwise it would be difficult to conceive. Over the years, I have never stopped taking medicine for conditioning, but I still haven't gotten pregnant. Chu Yan has never complained to me. I didn't know that he minded it so much, and he even told my privacy to Chen Nanyue as a joke. I took a deep breath, but I couldn't hold back my anger anymore. I simply raised my foot and kicked Chen Nanyue's painting down the stairs. The wooden frame of the painting fell to the floor with a bang. The canvas was hooked on the railing and tore a long crack. Chen Nanyue's eyes turned red instantly, and she raised her hand to fight with me, but she was half a head shorter than me, and she didn't have the habit of keeping fit like me. I quickly distanced myself from her and pushed her aside. Hiss! Chen Nanyue hit the wall. When she got up, her entire right arm hung down in an unnatural posture. My arm is broken, it hurts so much. My arm is broken. I watched coldly as Chen Nanyue held her arm and screamed and cried in pain. I didn't feel any pity in my heart. I cursed, you deserve it, and then left without looking back. 10. On this day, Chu Yan called me 18 times and sent dozens of WeChat messages. I ignored all of them. It wasn't until I got home at night that I found that Chu Yan had sent away the housekeeper and the servants. In the huge living room, I stood alone on the opposite side of Chu Yan and Chen Nanyue. His eyes were filled with anger, and his voice was low. You apologize to Nanyue. I sneered and asked him, what should I apologize for? Chu Yan frowned and stepped forward, pointing at Chen Nanyue on the sofa whose eyes were already red from crying, and he was extremely angry. You destroyed her painting and pushed her down, hurting her arm. Don't you think you should apologize? I was neither humble nor overbearing. You believe everything she says. Have you watched the surveillance video? When the situation was tense, Chen Nanyue suddenly spoke. The surveillance video is broken. She looked at me triumphantly, as if she was certain that I would apologize to her under Chu Yan's coercion, but she was wrong. I already knew that the surveillance video had been secretly damaged by Chu Yan, so I was even more fearless. Facing Chen Nanyue's confident gaze, I slowly opened my mouth. Chen Nanyue, after you found out that the surveillance video was broken, you pretended to be aggrieved and thought that Chu Yan would believe whatever you said, right? But let me guess, you didn't tell him why we had the argument, did you? Chen Nanyue trembled. Just as she was about to defend herself, she heard Chu Yan's impatient voice. You don't need to scare her. Apologize to her. I looked at Chu Yan with a cold expression and squinted my eyes slightly. Chu Yan, why don't you ask the cause and effect? Why do you believe everything she says? She provoked me first. You should ask her properly. Chu Yan raised his voice, his eyes full of disbelief. Qingyu, do you mean to say that she deliberately provoked you, so she deserved to get hurt? Open your eyes and look. That was the painting she stayed up all night to paint for a whole month. She wouldn't throw it away. She's a painter. How could she risk her future and dislocate her entire arm? You made her get hurt. Is it so difficult for you to apologize voluntarily? I took a deep breath and stared at Chu Yan, enunciating each word clearly. Then, is it my fault that I froze for several hours in the snowy weather to save you and almost lost my ability